Chapter 1897. System, I want to awaken the sixth stage of the flesh shell. Host has awakened the sixth stage of the flesh shell. 12 million high-tier sage heavenly path points have been consumed. The further one awakened the awakening function, the higher the consumption. Fortunately, Lin Chen could kill gods as easily as slaughtering chickens. His attributes were no longer as scarce as before. Rumble. Lin Chen's blood began to burn like a bloody flame. It was so strong that it was like the sun and moon in the sky. A brand new power surged through his body, and every inch of his flesh and blood glowed with extreme power. Host's maximum strength, 120 million venerable energy, flesh shell awakening plus 600%. Lin Chen's actual strength was around 14 million venerable energy, which was almost the limit of a mortal body. But with the awakening function, he had awakened more than 100 million venerable energy. From today onwards, I have met the minimum requirement to wear the Golden Battle God set. The Golden Battle God set had a minimum requirement of 100 million venerable energy. In the past, Lin Chen had to rely on the God Slayer talent to meet the requirement. Now, he could use this trump card without relying on the God Slayer talent. System, strengthen the ancient Aeon Dragon bloodline to the maximum. Consumed 10,000 high-tier enhancement points. Strengthening ancient Aeon Dragon bloodline plus 1 succeeded. Consumed 19,000 high-tier enhancement points. Strengthening ancient Aeon Dragon bloodline plus 2 succeeded. When he was at the sacred boundary, Lin Chen could not strengthen the ancient Aeon Dragon bloodline. It was not difficult to strengthen it to the maximum. After this strengthening, Lin Chen's Cosmic Flash and Cosmic Dragon Claw would be several times more powerful. It was especially terrifying. Although the true gods of the human race have less blood essence, they are still in the deity realm. The blood essence energy obtained has already allowed the Divine Dragon to reach the 16th Divine Dragon Meridian. After taking away the attribute light balls of the fallen true gods, Lin Chen faintly sensed the position of the 81st Saint Point. It was full of saint power and could try to break through to a new realm. He had just reached the Saint Heart realm a day ago, and he could break through to the heaven opening realm. If this breakthrough speed were to spread, he would be regarded as a monster. Lin Chen wouldn't easily break through to the heaven opening Saint Point. He would only choose a perfect breakthrough. The heaven opening realm was an extremely important realm, and the amount of Saint Chi one could obtain from a Saint Point was directly related to one's own accumulation, tempering, and potential. The more one accumulated, the more terrifying the heaven opening realm's Saint Point would be. Furthermore, unlike the Sacred Heart realm, the heaven opening realm's Saint Acupoint Saint Force had no upper limit. Either don't do it, or do it to the best of your ability. Accumulating it was the right thing to do. The best thing to do was to release it at the highest point. Lin Chen turned his gaze, looking at the chaotic and violent laws of Blood Fox Mountain, and smiled playfully. I still have to deal with this scourge. After saying this, Lin Chen used his movement technique. They rushed straight into the heart of the Blood Fox Mountain. The incomplete laws were indeed very strong, but without anyone commanding them, they were nothing more than a paper tiger with claws and fangs. The 3 incomplete laws had diluted most of the blood fog, and now there was no pressure to enter Blood Fox Mountain. When he arrived at the center of the Blood Fox Mountain peak and avoided the incomplete laws of nature, Lin Chen looked at the trench-like crack at the bottom. Divine Dragon Possession. The Divine Dragon turned into a ray of light and entered Lin Chen's body, and he suddenly slammed his palm down. Boom! He activated the Heavenly Claw, and the 5-section Dragon Claw slammed into the bottom of the Blood Fox Mountain. Bang! 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 The ground collapsed and lava surged. Lin Chen raised his hand and pulled, and the Dragon Claw pulled out across the air. When the ground cracked open, a green ball of light was pulled out by Lin Chen's Dragon Claw. The ball of light floated in the air, its meridians pulsing, and its entire body was gorgeous and colorful. It was actually the heart of a divine beast. It must be the heart of the divine fox that fell here back then. When Lin Chun held the heart of the divine fox in his palm, the three incomplete laws of nature immediately began to dissipate and enter the heart of the divine fox. The source of all of this was actually the heart of the divine fox. If it weren't for it, the blood pool and the laws of nature in the blood fox mountain wouldn't have been produced. Lin Chun refined the blood pool in one go, causing the heart of the divine fox to instinctively counterattack. It didn't have intelligence and was only instinctively defending itself with the incomplete laws of nature. Otherwise, Lin Chun and the 20 true gods might not be its match if it controlled the 3 incomplete laws of nature. Of course, the premise was that Lin Chun didn't use the golden battle god set. The heart of the divine fox still contains the energy of the divine fox back then. Although there's a large amount of vitality energy, the laws of nature it contains are the most important. Perhaps when it's my turn to comprehend the laws of nature in the future, this item will be of great help to me. Lin Chun sealed the heart of the divine fox with his sacred power and threw it into the Providence plant pouch for Fairy Scarlet to keep. Whoosh! The sound of wind breaking could be heard as Shangguan Yun stepped into the air and appeared beside Lin Chun. Her cold face was solemn as she said seriously, "Take advantage of the fact that they haven't returned to the Taichu Divine Kingdom yet. Run." Lin Chun was puzzled. Run? Yes. Shangguan Yun said, "You've caused a huge disaster. There are only 2 paths now. One is to join the sect of an ancient giant. This is the safest way. The second is to escape to the Realm Sea. There, even the experts of the Star Continent can't reach you." Lin Chun was interested. Ninefold Realm Sea. The Ninefold Realm Sea was the most mysterious area in the Divine Realm. In the 5 continents of the Divine Realm, there were supreme forces that set the rules. However, the Ninefold Realm Sea was located at the edge of the Divine Realm. There were no rules. It was the most chaotic and lawless area in the Divine Realm. There were a large number of islands and unique 4-dimensional spaces in the Ninefold Realm Sea. Moreover, each Realm Sea was vast and boundless, containing countless secrets. No one knew the essence of the Realm Sea. Each Realm Sea was even more mysterious than the previous one. The number of different experts would also increase along with the number of layers in each Realm Sea. Once one entered the Realm Sea, no matter what kind of background one had, no matter how powerful one was, it was useless. Within the Realm Sea, everything depended on one's ability. Using a man-eating world to describe the Ninefold Realm Sea was completely not enough. It should be said that having the awareness to eat people was the most basic factor to enter the Ninefold Realm Sea. Lin Chun killed a deity as a sage. It might be very shocking to the ordinary areas of the Divine Realm. However, in the Ninefold Realm Sea, there were also such ruthless people. However, they didn't necessarily kill a true deity in a head-on battle. They used other methods. In short, the experts that walked out of the Ninefold Realm Sea were all matchless ruthless people. However, they usually wouldn't easily cross the boundary. Firstly, the supreme experts guarding the 5 continents of the Divine Realm weren't to be trifled with. Secondly, the rules of the 5 continents didn't suit them. The resources weren't as abundant as the Ninefold Realm Sea. Many ancient giants and ancient small giants would arrange some of their core disciples to train in the Ninefold Realm Sea. However, they usually only trained in the 1st and 2nd Realm Sea. After all, starting from the 3rd Realm Sea, the Azura clan would appear. Shangguan Yun said seriously, "Your origin comes from the 3rd dimension. If you don't have connections, even if you enter the sect of an ancient giant, it's very likely that you'll be remembered by the sect. The best choice is to escape to the Realm Sea. If the absolute beginning divine nation spreads the news of you, stop. Lin Chun interrupted her and said with a playful smile, "Why am I the one escaping?" Lin Chun smiled and said, "Why should I escape? The ones who should escape are them. Shangguan Yun slowly typed out a question mark. Chapter 1898. Shangguan Yun didn't keep up with Lin Chen's train of thought. Now was the best time to escape. Where there was life, there was hope. With Lin Chen's foundation, it was very suitable for him to go to the 9-layered realm sea. However, what was his plan? The one who wanted to escape wasn't him, but the Taichu Divine Kingdom? Brother, you're waiting for death? You can defeat a group of 2nd-level Divine Realm experts, but do you think you can defeat a group of 3rd-level or even 4th-level Divine Realm experts? Just the difference between the early stage, mid-stage, and late stage of the 2nd-level Divine Realm had already been vividly displayed in the previous battle. The difference after the 3rd level would only be even more perverted. Shangguan Yun's expression changed several times. She seemed to have realized that she seemed to have just met him. It was as if every time he acted, it was like meeting him for the first time. She could never see through him. Why didn't he play by the rules? Lin Chen patted her shoulder with a faint smile on his face. Miss Shangguan Yun, I have a new collaboration. Are you interested? Shangguan Yun looked at his face that looked like he wanted to cause trouble, and the corners of her lips twitched. What do you want to do? So. What? You want to overturn the Taichu Divine Kingdom? Impossible. It's not realistic at all. Do you know the distance between here and the Taichu Divine Kingdom? By the time you fight, they would have already gathered a large number of experts. Shangguan Yun stared at Lin Chen as if she was looking at a lunatic. This guy actually wanted to challenge a divine kingdom alone? Didn't he have any common sense? Defeating the Taichu Divine Kingdom's patriarch didn't mean that he could destroy a divine kingdom. For a divine kingdom to be able to exist until now, it must have a strong enough foundation. No one knew what kind of trump card a divine kingdom would use if they were forced into a dead end. A war between divine kingdoms would only involve high-level battles and secret battles. It would never be a war to the death of a kingdom. Whoever fought first might be the first to perish. Moreover, the Taichu Divine Kingdom was far away from Bloodfox Mountain, and there was no special 4-dimensional passage. It would take more than a month for a normal true god to rush there. By the time they arrived, they might have attracted countless experts to suppress Lin Chen. This wasn't a one-on-one battle, this was suicide. Lin Chen smiled. So what if it's far away? You lead the way and I'll take you off. The host has consumed 10 million points of intermediate set essence. Wind God Wings charge, 10%. Whoosh. 2 beams of azure light intertwined, forming a pair of azure rainbow wings on Lin Chen's back. The divine wings unfurled, their edges and corners distinct, as if they were formed from interweaving green jade, emitting a whistling sound wave of divine wind. Part of the King of Speed, Wings of Wind. Wearing the divine wind wings, Lin Chen's temperament changed drastically. His hair danced in the wind, making him look like an elegant god of wind descending to the mortal world. His side profile was elegant, and his face was clear and bright, making people feel intoxicated. Even Shangguan Yun was slightly stunned. Lin Chen flipped his hair and smiled wickedly. Do you really think I'm going to use this King of Speed equipment to escape? What I'm hammering is the Divine Kingdom. Using his fastest speed to escape? This was AF * King Waste. Let's go. Let's go to the Grand Primordium Divine Kingdom. They're just the prey and I'm the hunter. Grabbing Shangguan Yun's wrist, Lin Chen spread his wings of wind, and the two of them disappeared in a flash. At that moment, what Shangguan Yun felt was not fast. It was the teleportation of the 4-dimensional spacetime. 5 days later, in the Grand Primordium Divine Palace. In the Divine Kingdom Divine Palace, a fiery light descended. A true god in a fiery robe stepped out slowly. When he stepped into the palace, the Grand Primordium Divine Ancestor smiled. Long time no see, old man Jihua. The old man with fiery eyebrows glanced at him indifferently. After so many years, You're still at the late stage of the second-level divine realm. Old man, can you do it? Don't guard your divine kingdom all day long. Ha ha ha, your mouth is still so vicious. Please come in. The two of them smiled insincerely. As they chatted, strange phenomena appeared outside the palace. A green-faced ghost is here too. An overlord sword Feng Xie, 10 ultimate flying daggers Lin Jun, heavenly mandate deity, and dragon gate Ji. Good heavens, this piece of news from this old man has startled all of you old monsters to come out. The grand primordium divine ancestor in the palace exclaimed. These old monsters were all at the third level of the divine realm. However, the grand primordium divine ancestor did not stand up to welcome them. His attitude made his stance clear, and he was not afraid that these old monsters would attack his divine kingdom. All the true gods sat down with different expressions, and their gazes were focused on the grand primordium divine ancestor. The grand primordium divine ancestor's expression darkened. Almost everyone is here. About the shocking child who appeared out of nowhere in Blood Fox Mountain recently. Wait a minute. An old and decrepit voice reverberated in the temple. His voice wasn't loud, but it reverberated like the sound of a giant bell. It reverberated in everyone's ears and caused the expressions of all the true gods to freeze. A wisp of black and white smoke burned at the gate of the palace, rising slowly like a surging smoke signal. As the smoke spread, 2 black and white figures appeared out of thin air. Both of them looked young with full foreheads, sharp eyebrows, bright eyes, and long hair, but there was a sense of vicissitudes between their eyebrows. The youth on the left had deep and dark pupils, while the youth on the right had bright white pupils like stars. The grand primordium divine ancestor raised his eyebrows and said in surprise, "It's the Yu family's black and white elders, Yumia and Eugene." All the true gods present looked solemn. These 2 old monsters were extremely well hidden, like bottomless abysses. They couldn't even detect their auras and cultivation. They were definitely above everyone present. Mid-stage third level of the divine realm? No, it might be even worse. Their figures flashed, and the youthful black and white elders sat in the empty seats like ghosts. White Elder Yumia said coldly, "This kid hurt the Yu family's granddaughter, Yu Tianwei, and he has no power. He has to pay the price." Black Elder Yujin's killing intent appeared. "As for the reward, the Yu family will pay twice what they pay. You also have to share the information of the Taichu Divine Kingdom with the Yu family." The information of the Taichu Divine Kingdom was very important now. Before the news reached the ears of the big shots, they had to take down this kid first. The grand primordium divine ancestor stroked his beard and smiled. Well said, well said. According to the agreement, if we capture this kid, the Taichu Divine Kingdom will also have a share of his secret. The 2 elders of the Yu family nodded. Of course. Okay, then about your sincerity and the price of listening to the information. Before the grand primordium divine ancestor could finish speaking, a voice suddenly came from outside the temple. Divine ancestor, the president of the new standalone chamber of commerce next door, Lin Chen, wants to see you. He said that he has a great reward to discuss with you. He also said that he knows part of Lin Chen's background and trump cards and is willing to share them with the Divine Kingdom. All the gods present were stunned. Who was this guy who appeared at this juncture? A standalone chamber of commerce? They had never heard of it. The grand primordium divine ancestor's eyes were even more interesting. Who was this person? How could he know Lin Chen's background? His trump cards? To be honest, the grand primordium divine ancestor had already become cautious after fighting with Lin Chen once. This young man was full of secrets. It was possible that the previous battle was his full strength. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy could you win 100 battles. They knew nothing about him. If they could predict his other abilities in advance, the chances of capturing him alive would greatly increase. The grand primordium divine ancestor pondered. Yes. Interesting. Invite this president in. Chapter 1899. Outside the temple, the elder from the Taichu Divine Kingdom said respectfully, "Director Chen, please come in." As soon as the voice transmission was heard, two figures walked in through the temple's door. The woman beside him was a true god, dressed as a maid. She had a slender waist, jade-like legs, and a skirt that swayed like a lotus flower. Her skin was like cream, and her face was beautiful and elegant. She faintly exuded the temperament of a snow lotus. She was arrogant and cold, but she was very obedient and convinced as she followed behind the white-robed man. This scene made many true gods raise their eyebrows. A true god maid? What a grand scene! Maids were not rare, but a true god maid was definitely not something an ordinary faction could afford. Especially a maid at the second level of the divine realm. This kind of talent was even more monstrous than the true disciples of the ancient divine sex. With such talent and foundation, how could she be willing to be a maid for someone else? To be able to have a true god as a maid, one could imagine how terrifying this white-robed man's background was. The youth in the lead was dressed in white. He had a graceful bearing and his face was like jade. His eyes were bright and he was handsome. His pair of deep eyes seemed to want to suck in all the old monster's attention, and they were full of mystery. Faced with the gazes of so many old monster-level true gods, he remained calm and composed, as if he had returned to his own territory. He was so calm and composed that the other true gods had a whole new level of respect for him. This young man could actually remain calm under their gazes. He must have had extraordinary experience, and was worlds apart from the young people that were still being groomed by the factions behind them. The most mysterious thing was his aura. All the true gods present, including Eugene and Yumiya of the Yu family, could not sense his cultivation. It was as if there was some mysterious treasure that covered his aura. When a true divinity was unable to detect his cultivation, they sneered and released a fluctuation of their primordial spirit. Buzz. When the essence spirit fluctuation was 100 feet away from the white-robed youth, it instantly shattered. What a powerful essence spirit. This kid is also at the perfected essence spirit realm. Young, too young. Although his life fluctuation is covered, I can vaguely sense that this kid is not even 500 years old. Under everyone's gaze, the two walked to the round table. Before Tai Chu ancestor could speak, the white-robed youth sat down and crossed his legs on the table. An old monster frowned. So arrogant? Looking down on everyone? Chun Lin waved his hand. Whoosh! The brilliant divine jade, which was about the size of a palm, was flung onto the round table, shining with a dark green brilliance like the twinkling of stars. Everyone's eyes lit up. A complete substandard divine jade. And there were 10 of them at once. However, what made the old monster's eyes burn even more was the exquisite treasure box in the center of the divine jade. On the surface of the exquisite treasure box, there were divine flames burning like dancing dragons. Just this treasure box alone had a powerful seal engraved on it. It was already extremely valuable, not to mention the inside of the treasure box. In the center of the treasure box was a precious jade with pulsating red veins. It was a peerless odd crystal. Chen Lin had a frivolous look on his face as he crossed his legs. The true god maidservant beside him bent down to massage his shoulders and neck. Then, he said lazily, "This is a greeting gift from me to the Tai Chu Divine Kingdom." What? Everyone was shocked, and the expressions of the Yu family's 2 elders froze. It was just a greeting gift? What kind of wealth was this? With the chips on the table, it was not far from the reward they wanted to give to the Tai Chu Divine Kingdom in exchange for information, but it was just a greeting gift? A peerless odd crystal was not considered precious to the gods. But a peerless odd crystal was no small matter. It was also very tempting to these old monsters at the 3rd level of the divine realm. A peerless odd crystal had a crucial effect, which was to increase the probability of a god condensing a law. Although the probability was small, the temptation was not something ordinary treasures could compare to. The divine realm was vast, and just the star state alone was filled with crouching tigers and hidden dragons. There were countless hidden experts, and this might be the birth of a certain expert. Such a precious gift as a greeting gift. Who exactly is this young president? Why have I never heard of this Chamber of Commerce? The Tai Chu old ancestor narrowed his eyes and didn't touch the things on the table. The older one got, the wiser he became. He knew very well that treasures had to be obtained at an equivalent price. However, this precious greeting gift was exchanged for the Tai Chu old ancestor's pleasant expression. The old ancestor smiled. President Chen is young and promising. Why have I never heard of your Chamber of Commerce? Chen Lin said indifferently, because my father is very arrogant and advised me to keep a low profile. This time, I went out to train just to earn money. He patted his chest and said, I bought my position as president for the sake of earning money. Also, I don't like to earn money from poor people. The Tai Chu old ancestor was surprised. Then whose money do you want to earn? Chen Lin smiled casually. I'll take it from whoever has the money. 10 Extreme Flying Dagger Lin Zhen smiled playfully. Then who has money? Chen Lin pointed at everyone and said indifferently, You have money. The true gods looked at each other and laughed. Only the black and white elders looked at Chen Lin coldly. The Tai Chu old ancestor smiled faintly. President Chen, you're too polite. Peerless odd crystal as a greeting gift is not ordinary. Lin Zhen said indifferently, If you want to earn money from us, I'm afraid the amount won't reach President Chen's expectations. Chen Lin smiled. Odd crystals with a god kingdom, isn't that right? Back then, who didn't know that your Tai Chu divine kingdom was the boss of the 30 states? The Tai Chu old ancestor stroked his beard and smiled. President Chen, you're too humble. May I ask what grudge this Lin Chen has with your Chamber of Commerce? Chen Lin narrowed his eyes and revealed his killing intent. Everyone was surprised. It was obvious that this Lin Chen had offended this reclusive disciple many times. Chen Lin revealed a look of reminiscence and said slowly, He has no grudge with my Chamber of Commerce, but he has a personal grudge with me. The Tai Chu old ancestor was surprised. What do you mean? Chen Lin said, He stole my technique. The fierce overlord Sword Fong Xie was surprised. President Chen's family background is not bad. There must be many strong people in your family, right? How could he have stolen your cultivation technique? Chen Lin said, Because my technique is all picked up. Everyone. Chen Lin said indifferently, My father has too many top-notch cultivation method. They are piled up like a mountain. Most of them are used to prop up the corners of his table. The cultivation methods that I cultivated were all picked up from him. Everyone's mouth twitched. Was this human language? Chen Lin continued, The two of us were once friends and met by chance. I went out in a low-key manner and got to know him. After a heart-to-heart talk, we got along very well. Seeing that this child is more handsome than me, I became friends with him. I invited him to my residence to take a look, but I didn't expect this child to have such evil intentions. Speaking of this, Chen Lin's killing intent intensified, making everyone believe him even more. He said coldly, The two of us drank and chatted happily, but who knew that he actually drugged the wine and knocked me out? He entered my residence, slept on my bed, flirted with my girl, and stole my technique. He was very arrogant. Chapter 1900. This, after listening to Chen Lin's explanation, everyone looked at each other. This story sounded too magical. It was full of loopholes. Was President Chen so easy to be taken down by others? Disregarding everything else, just this second-level true god maidservant by your side was not a simple person. If she took you down, wouldn't any expert from your family easily discover her? Lin Zhen frowned and said, President Chen, aren't you letting this kid get his way too easily? Chen Lin glanced at him, his lips curling into a cold smile. He tapped the table with his fingertips, and the beautiful maidservant behind him immediately poured wine for him. Chen Lin raised the wine cup and finished it in one gulp before saying slowly, "Friend, let me ask you, what's Lin Chen's cultivation level?" Lin Zhen said instinctively, "Naturally, he's a saint." After saying that, even Lin Zhen himself was stunned. Chen Lin sneered and said, "Yes, a saint. Which one of you here would be wary of a saint right from the start? Before Grand Primordium met this kid, I'm afraid he wouldn't even look at a saint, right?" That woke them up from their dream. Grand Primordium said in deep agreement, "I see, President Chen has also fallen into this kid's trap." That's right, everyone now knew that Lin Chen had true god battle strength with a saint cultivation level. But if they did not know beforehand, a mere saint was just an ant in their eyes. Think about it, inviting a saint into one's residence, under the circumstances where true god experts were as numerous as clouds in the residence, who would freaking be wary of a saint? A group of true gods surrounding a saint on guard? That scene was comical just thinking about it. Who would be wary of a saint without knowing the situation? It was very normal for a true god to not take a saint seriously. Thinking about it this way, this President Chen's words seemed to be full of loopholes. It was unexpected, but it was also reasonable. Grand Primordium said, "I see, President Chen, you said you know part of his background?" At the mention of this, everyone pricked up their ears to listen. They were very curious about Lin Chen's background. What ability did a saint have to kill a true god with the power of a saint, and not be at a disadvantage when facing a true god with saint cultivation level? A hint of pride appeared between Chen Lin's brows as he said, "Naturally, it's his mental cultivation method." Mental cultivation method? Everyone was puzzled. Chen Lin said, "Like I said earlier, this kid stole our family's cultivation method. One of them is a mental cultivation method. The mental cultivation method he cultivates is beyond the orange level." Grand Primordial Ancestor felt as if he had been struck by lightning. Could it be? Everyone's pupils shrank, and their eyes were filled with shock. Beyond the orange level. For ordinary people, there were some cultivation methods that they would never be able to see through to the peak of their grade. However, to the people present, some legends were not just limited to legends. The human race's cultivation techniques were divided into the yellow rank, green rank, cyan rank, blue rank, purple rank, and orange rank. Orange-grade cultivation techniques were categorized into beginner, intermediate, advanced, and pinnacle. However, there was another tier above the top orange tier. That grade was the pinnacle of the cultivation techniques of the four-dimensional humans. Red step. Only true gods who had reached a certain level of cultivation would know of the existence of crimson rank cultivation methods. A cultivation technique of this grade was even rarer to encounter than a true god who had grasped the laws. At least for the gods present, they had only heard of it. If this kid had cultivated a crimson rank cultivation method, then it was not impossible for him to be able to fight against a true god with the strength of a saint. After all, everyone present, including the two elders of the Yu family, had never seen a real crimson rank cultivation method. Chen Lin continued, "Although it's beyond the orange rank, it still hasn't reached the legendary rank." The fire in everyone's eyes burned even hotter. If it was a crimson rank cultivation method, then the experts who were alarmed would be incredible. If it was a little lower, then they and the forces behind him would still have a chance. Chen Lin smiled mockingly. "Grand Primordial Ancestor should be able to prove what I said, right?" Grand Primordial Ancestor nodded. "That's right. Speaking of which, when this kid revealed his true strength, the number of saint points on his body reached as many as 160. The saint force he unleashed was actually comparable to that of an early-stage, second heaven divine realm expert. 160 saint points. Everyone's expression changed. Damn, the more he said, the more ridiculous it was. But what he said was the truth. Chen Lin nodded. And that's right. This is one of the key techniques of that cultivation method. Other than that, that kid has a lot of secret. For example, he has an alien space that can temporarily release a divine elephant comparable to a third heaven divine realm expert. Grand Primordial Ancestor praised. That's right. We've experienced it before. That divine elephant is indeed troublesome. The handsome and refined heavenly mandate divine elephant said in surprise, Oh? A divine elephant comparable to a third heaven divine realm expert? However, if it can only be released for a while, it's not a problem for us. Chun Lin also said. He also has a clone technique that can pass off as a real one. Grand Primordial Ancestor nodded repeatedly. Yes, yes, yes. Chun Lin added. He also has a top-grade orange rank cultivation method that self-destruct. Moreover, he has a divine dragon in captivity. Grand Primordial Ancestor praised. That's right, brother. The beautiful maid beside him lifted the corners of her lips slightly as if she was holding back her laughter. The gods were even more moved. Good heavens, how many trump cards did this Lin Chun have? If it were them, if they hadn't seen the grand primordial divine kingdom lose a few true gods with their own eyes, they would probably find it hard to believe. Chin Lin said in all seriousness, there's also a secret technique that can distort time and space. After saying that, a divine kingdom elder with a broken leg slammed the table. Yes, 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 I'm familiar with this. Grand Primordial Ancestor glared at the elder angrily, and the latter shrank his neck and sat back down. Chen Lin said, As for the rest, there shouldn't be any left. This kid has been able to resist you for so long. I'm sure he's used up most of his trump cards. Grand Primordial Ancestor narrowed his eyes and stared at Director Chen. He said seriously, Then, Director Chen, what price are you offering to obtain the information? Chen Lin stretched out 2 fingers. Grand Primordial Ancestor asked tentatively, You're offering 800 divine jades? No. Chen Lin said casually, I'm offering 1,800 divine jades. The more you pay, the more you earn. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. This guy really thought that money wasn't money. Chen Lin smiled playfully. However, I'm offering this price to let everyone know that when we capture Lin Chen, this kid's cultivation method will have to be returned to my family. Hey, don't. Everyone's expressions changed slightly. Good heavens, this analysis of the operation was seen in everyone's eyes and heard in their hearts. Lin Chen's trump card might be very strong, but this strength was only temporary. It was very strong against opponents weaker than him. What was truly valuable was still his mental cultivation method. If this cultivation method was brought back to the sect and given to their disciples, one could imagine how much their sects and forces would soar. Moreover, if they could cultivate this cultivation method, wouldn't their realm improve? Chun Lin smiled and said, When the time comes, we'll dig out all his secrets. When the time comes, the grand primordial divine kingdom's losses will be a drop in the ocean. Do you still care? Bang! Lin Jin slammed the table and said in high spirits, Isn't it just a small Lin Chen? Deal with him. Grand Primordial Ancestor clicked his tongue in wonder. Tough. Lin Jin said, Tough? Chun Lin gave him a thumbs up. Tough enough. Lin Jin waved his hand. Whether it's tough or not, we'll talk about it tonight. There's only one thing on my mind, which is to help Director Chen release this kid. Get the cultivation method back. A small Lin Chen is too arrogant. He dares to bully Brother Chen. I won't allow it. Chen Lin couldn't help but clap. Wonderful. Come drink. The maidservant nodded and leaned over to pour wine. Chun Lin pushed the wine cup, and Lin Jin drank it in one gulp. The true gods looked at him with slight disdain. Lin Jin, this guy, was licking his boots so quickly. Chapter 1901. At this moment, the black and white elders of the Yu family finally spoke. Director Chen, regarding this mental cultivation technique, can you let the Yu family have a share of the pie? The moment this was said, the atmosphere instantly fell silent. Obviously, after listening to the conversation, the most valuable thing Lin Chen had was the mental cultivation technique. And this mental cultivation technique came from Director Chen's family. Now, although the Taichu Divine Kingdom occupied the position of intelligence, Director Chen was the one in charge. In terms of raw strength, he was probably not inferior to anyone present, or even stronger. Chen Lin said slowly as he continued to drink his wine. He even let the maid massage his shoulders for a while. I bought my position as guild leader for the sake of earning money. Also, I don't like to earn money from the poor. Everyone's eyes narrowed. What a king straightforward guy. It seemed that Director Chen had been waiting for them. He wanted to earn everyone's money. The same words were repeated, but they had a completely different meaning. Coveting someone else's cultivation technique? Simple, they had to fork out money at this juncture. He's so scheming at such a young age. How unexpected. Chen Lin? Chen family? Speaking of which, could it be the Chen family of the North region? As expected of a reclusive disciple of an ancient family. He's got some tricks up his sleeve. How far has he schemed? No. I feel that things aren't that simple. Everyone was terrified. They looked at Director Chen's calm expression and thought carefully. Something was wrong. Good Lord, Lin Chen was just a tool. The winner of all this was young Master Chen Lin. Lin Chen had turned the world upside down with his family's mental cultivation technique. What did this mean? It meant that this mental cultivation technique was abnormally powerful. This was equivalent to giving the family behind Chen Lin a powerful and free publicity tool. As for why Chen Lin didn't use the power of the family behind him, everyone was used to it. The big families usually didn't interfere too much with their disciples' training. In a way, chasing Lin Chen was one of the training for Director Chen. He wouldn't do it himself. No wonder Director Chen wanted to earn their money. Amazing, too amazing. It seemed like Lin Chen was just a tool, and this young Master Chen Lin was the real winner behind the scenes. Lin Chen and the rest of them were clearly arranged. Young Master Chen is the eternal god. This Lin Chen was like a little brother. The handsome and refined god of heavenly mandate reacted the fastest. He opened his palm, and his divine power spread out like a tide. A crystal-clear jade flute appeared in his palm. He said with a smile, I obtained this by chance in the First Realm Sea, and it's called the Jade Sea Tide Flute. It was a divine weapon. He can use the primordial spirit to injure his enemies and kill them without a trace. The corners of the old monster's mouths twitched. The first thing he did was to use a divine artifact. It seemed that the god of revelation was determined to get a share of Lin Chen's mental cultivation method. The deity of heavenly mandate smiled faintly and said, Director Chen, ordinary divine artifacts may not catch your eye. However, the magical effect of this flute is not only that it can hurt the enemy with the way of rhythm, but also that once the primordial spirit transforms into the realm of the divine soul, it can control two divine beasts of the water element. If he reached the divine soul realm, he could use this flute to control two water-type divine beasts. This effect was indeed magical. Chen Lin glanced at it, raised his eyebrows, and smiled. Not bad, not bad. Buzz. At this moment, the space fluctuated, and a snow-white heavenly book appeared in the sky. When the pages flew, rays of divine light surged, and countless illusions of sacred relics formed, forming a terrifying array. Ji Longmen, who was dressed in a snow-white robe, smiled faintly. The 100 heavenly books recorded 99 types of god-slaying array, and the last book on condensing laws. It's priceless, and I'm willing to exchange it with Director Chen Lin. Then, Overlord Sword Feng Xie took out a divine sword wrapped in dragon chi, and Lin Zhen took out 3 peerless flying knives, all of which were divine weapons. Taichu Ancestor was amazed. Their moves were extraordinary. These guys all took out their most important treasures in order to covet the mental cultivation method. Taichu Ancestor roughly knew what they were scheming. These were all worldly possessions, and with these old monsters' abilities, they would be able to earn them back one day. But this mental cultivation method could only be found by chance. If they could get it, they might be able to peek into the next realm and pursue the opportunity to break through to the next realm. Chun Lin looked through them one by one and memorized them all. He knocked on the table and said indifferently, "My father has ordered that this mental cultivation method cannot be revealed casually. The quota is limited." When he said that, the gods who took out their treasures earlier felt their hearts skip a beat. As expected, this business was not that easy to earn. Finally, it was Black and White's turn. The two of them looked at each other and seemed to have made up their minds. Ordinary treasures would not be able to move this Director Chin. Everyone present here has already seen what he can do. If they wanted to take out something, they had to take out something more important. Black and White opened the plant pouch of fate. The branches of two black and white divine trees suddenly appeared. A part that belonged to the two divine trees appeared in the temple. The branches meandered like dragons, and their auras were like immortal fog. Faint frost covered the divine leaves, forming two divine fruits, one black and one white. Then, the two divine trees turned into a young man and a young girl, sitting in the void. They wore thin clothes and looked timid and shy. There was even a divine fruit on each of their heads. It was a mysterious sight. Yin Yang Divine Tree. Oh my God, are they serious? A genuine supreme grade spirit herb. And it's a pair? Supreme grade spirit herbs were the lifeblood of the major factions and were managed by the people in charge. Black and White were the people in charge of the Yu family's plant pouch of fate. Chun Lin's eyes lit up and he praised, "Yes, this spirit herb is not bad. After capturing Lin Chen alive, I'll consider the Yu family first." The two elders looked at each other and kept the spirit herb. That seemingly cold expression was actually a sigh of relief in his heart. In fact, they didn't have the authority to take it out to make a deal. This was one of the foundations of the Yu family. However, if they could exchange it for a peerless cultivation technique, it would be a top-grade deal for the Yu family. It was a sure win. The Grand Primordium Patriarch was amazed by these guys' generosity and then said, "President Chun, there's also my previous agreement." Chun Lin said indifferently, "According to your agreement, you have to have a share of this kid's secrets, right?" "No problem, your Grand Primordium Divine Kingdom will have a share of the cultivation technique." Everyone looked at the Grand Primordium Patriarch enviously, but they weren't jealous. After all, many true gods of the Grand Primordium Divine Kingdom had died to plant a mark on Lin Chen. The Grand Primordium Patriarch rubbed his hands. "Then the reward for the information," Chun Lin said indifferently, "don't worry, I'll give it to you after you calculate it. Are you afraid that I'll go back on my word?" The Grand Primordium Patriarch glanced at the meeting gift on the table, stood up, and nodded. "Okay, let's find out where Lin Chen is first." Chun Lin smiled coquettishly. "Yes, let's find this guy first." Chapter 1902. After making his decision, the Grand Primordium Patriarch flicked his sleeve, and the divine artifact, the exquisite star horsetail whisk, appeared again after a series of flashes of starlight. The Patriarch waved the horsetail whisk in his hand, and moonlight appeared. The silver strands of the horsetail whisk danced in the wind, and a large amount of moonlight poured down. The moonlight formed a constellation chart, and each constellation represented a region under the star continent. The Grand Primordium Patriarch bit the tip of his tongue, and his essence blood sprayed on the moonlight star map like an arrow. A speck of red moonlight began to appear on the moonlight star map. All the old monsters stared intently. Where could this brat be? When everyone focused their eyes, they were first puzzled, then dumbfounded, and finally shocked. Especially those from the Taichu Divine Kingdom, they felt as if they had been struck by lightning. The location of the red moonlight was in the direction of the Taichu Divine Kingdom. Moreover, it happened to be the location of the Divine Kingdom's temple. What was going on? What the F***ck was going on? Lin Chen's location actually showed that he was in the Taichu Divine Kingdom? What kind of method was this? Could it be that something had happened to the bright moon seal? The Grand Primordium ancestor was so shocked that he muttered to himself, "Impossible, absolutely impossible. The bright moon seal of our Grand Primordium Divine Kingdom can't be removed or abnormal unless it's an expert who's 2 realms higher than the ancestor." There was another possibility, and that was that Lin Chen dared to come to his Taichu Divine Kingdom? But that was impossible. The Taichu Divine Kingdom was so far away from Bloodfox Mountain. The Grand Primordium Patriarch had to rely on his spatial secret technique to return in a few days. Could this Lin Chen have followed him here? The next moment, buzz! The red moonlight turned into a flowing moon-like light and shot out, further locking onto the target. The faint red moonlight pointed straight at President Chen, who was sitting with his legs crossed and drinking leisurely. It finally stopped above his head, condensing and swaying. All the old monsters stared at Chen Lin. Fang Xie's voice was cold, but he said in disbelief, "President Chen, could it be that you?" The Grand Primordium Patriarch suddenly stood up and stared at him, muttering to himself in shock. "Motherf***, it can't be." Yu Jin's pupils shrank. President Chen. Chen Lin. Lin Chen. Chen Lin, Lin Chen? Lin Chen, Lin Chen? Wouldn't that mean that the name would be the same even if it was read backwards? However, this was too unbelievable. If the two of them were one person, would he still be able to sell himself? The elder of the Taichu Divine Kingdom looked like he had seen a ghost. If Lin Chen was really Lin Chen, he had snuck into the Taichu Divine Kingdom in 5 days and completely disguised his identity. Then he had actually arrived a few days ago. That was too damn fast. This was a speed that was completely beyond comprehension. No one made a move immediately. They were not sure what was going on. Based on the foundation and methods that Director Chen had displayed, he did not seem like Lin Chen at all. "You're Lin Chen?" The Grand Primordium Patriarch slammed the table and stood up, his eyes wide with anger. The wind and clouds suddenly changed, and divine might rolled over. "How dare you? I don't care if you're Chen Lin or Lin Chen today. Your trump card has been exposed. With the combat power of you and your clone, how can you deal with the many true gods present? There's a path to heaven, but you don't escape. There's no door to hell, but you barge in." Chen Lin raised his head and laughed. "Ha ha ha ha. Exposed my trump card? I did take the initiative to reveal the trump card I used, but..." He smiled coldly. "How do you know that's all I have?" Everyone froze. He stood up calmly and rolled up his sleeves, revealing a fist that was shining with golden light. He smiled coquettishly. "Have you tasted the golden divine fist before?" Bang! All the true gods felt a flash of golden light in front of their eyes. The four-dimensional space-time instantly exploded. The sky collapsed and the earth sank. The entire temple exploded into pieces. An unprecedented divine power attacked head-on, shattering heaven and earth. It was invincible and contained an unparalleled aura. Hiss! Oh no! The old monsters gathered here vomited blood and retreated. Even though they instinctively activated their defenses, the punch just now was like a god breaking through 1,000 kilograms. It was invincible in the heavens, as if the god of war was alive. It was invincible and domineering in the universe. Bang! 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 The temple exploded, the earth collapsed, the palaces collapsed, and the earth veins cracked. The wind and clouds swirled wildly, and the roar of the wind was like the wails and roars of heaven and earth. The python-like cracks spread all the way and exploded into billowing smoke. The domineering fist wind swept across the world, crushing tens of thousands of feet away and penetrating a large number of palaces inside the grand primordium divine kingdom. Even if they weren't facing the center of the divine fist, everyone was sent flying far away by the fist wind. And at this moment, it was the moment for the true gods maid, Shangguan and the phantom clone to show their skills. When the phantom doppelganger descended, it used the speed of a flash to intercept the treasures that the crowd had presented earlier. 6 ultimate seals, 7-star seal. Shangguan Yun's 8 fingers formed a seal, and the seal was like 7 stars flashing consecutively. 6 seals layered on top of each other, binding all the divine artifacts, providence spirit plants, supreme-grade treasures, and so on. This sudden scene caught everyone off guard. When the smoke billowed and dispersed, a hurricane raged. Everyone took a closer look and couldn't help but gasp. The Grand Primordium Patriarch's body was covered in blood, and his corpse was everywhere. The divine artifact in his hand, the exquisite star horsetail whisk, had been shattered. One move, just one move. He had killed the Grand Primordium Patriarch. Even though his cultivation level wasn't as high as the old monsters present, with a divine artifact in hand, even a third-level divine realm cultivator wouldn't be able to defeat him in a short time, let alone kill him in one move. What did this kid do? The gods felt as if they had fallen into an ice cellar, and their scalps went numb. When they looked in the direction of the temple again, the white-robed young man had already changed into a silver robe and removed his disguise. 160 saint points flickered all over his body, shining like stars. I just heard someone say that I'm just a small Lin Chen and that they want to kill me? Lin Chen's frivolous smile made their hearts tremble. The old monsters finally knew what kind of monster they had provoked. Damn it, he had actually attacked them himself. Which normal person would do such a thing? And he even King betrayed himself? After the elders of the Grand Primordium Divine Kingdom were sent flying by the aftershock, they were even more dumbfounded. Lin Chen, whom they had spent a lot of effort to find, had actually appeared in front of them so openly. Just a moment ago, he was still talking and laughing with the many reclusive old monsters who wanted to surround him. This young man was too terrifying. Shangguan, who was floating in the air, held multiple trembling balls of light in her hand and sealed the divine artifact. She said in a deep voice, "Their divine artifacts are too powerful. I've done my best to suppress them. Only you can deal with this battle by yourself. Be careful, it's fine." Lin Chen raised his hand and smiled casually. "Didn't you want to see me in my prime? I'll show you now." Shangguan was stunned. She felt more and more that Lin Chen's invincible spirit rose from his body. Many old monsters gritted their teeth. This guy was good at fishing. Their best treasures had all fallen into his hands. Lin Zhen flew into a rage out of humiliation. "I don't believe that I can't kill you, you little brat. Let's see how many times you can use that move just now." Boom! Lin Zhen's aura shook. Hundreds and thousands of flowing blade shadows spun around him like dancing butterflies. His divine power was vast and mighty, and his divine eyes burst with dazzling divine light. The yin and yang divine light around black and white turned into acupoints, and their hostility was overwhelming. The heavenly mandate god held the wordless heavenly book in his hand and opened all kinds of ancient arrays. He used his finger to release divine light, and when his finger touched the ground, it formed an array. Feng Xie raised his hand in the air, and his sword will attracted the 9 heavens. He roared, "Sword come!" Boom, boom, boom. Tens of thousands of sword lights converged from the sky and fell into his palm, forming a divine sword. Lin Chen sneered. "You think you're the only one who knows how to do it? Don't pretend to be a wolf." Lin Chen waved his hand, and golden divine light flashed toward the sky. "Trap come!" Chapter 1903. The dazzling golden divine radiance was like the first divine light after the world was created. It shone on his figure and reflected in Shangguan Yun's eyes. Lin Chen's eyes shone with a dazzling golden light. The helmet was made of 3 dragon feather horns, and the breastplate had an indestructible golden outline. There was a lifelike torch dragon carved on it, shocking the world. The left and right arm guards had divine runes carved on them, and the shoulder armor was shaped like a dragon's teeth. There was a cape on his right shoulder that danced in the wind, emitting a faint golden divine radiance. The leg armor was made of golden paint, and it shone with eternal divine radiance. The knee armor was like a dragon's claw, standing on the world. Boom, boom, boom. There were rumbles echoing in the world, as if they were paying respect to the arrival of this invincible being. Even Shangguan Yun, who had experienced the baptism of the realm sea, couldn't help but be stunned at this moment. He was wearing golden armor, and his cape was fluttering in the wind. Just his figure alone could support the world. This is his heyday, Shangguan Yun muttered to herself. Everyone's eyes flickered, and they wanted to know everything about Lin Chen. Don't be afraid of this kid. He's just a brute force. Bluff. I'd like to see how you can defeat all of us today. Don't think that the 3rd level of the Divine Realm is as simple as the 2nd level of the Divine Realm. I'll teach you a lesson today. Which of the old monsters present hadn't seen great storms and waves and been to the realm sea before? They didn't run away immediately. It was often the most dangerous to leave one's back to the enemy. Instead, they quickly adjusted their formation. Just crushing Grand Primordium Old Ancestor with one move wasn't enough to scare them. Instead, it made their fighting spirit soar, and they even wanted to join hands. Fang Xie shouted, "Attack his lower body and break his primordial spirit. Use sword intent and saber intent to break his primordial spirit's defense." Ji Longmen said, "I'll trap him with an array. He doesn't have the element to crush us." Lin Jin said coldly, "My flying dagger lost art is waiting for an opportunity. He only has pure strength, so he can't turn the tide by himself. You 2 old fogies, use your yin-yang lost art to seal him." The handsome face of the god of heavenly mandate stared at Lin Chen's golden armor, and a trace of madness and greed appeared on his face. This kid is only a saint, and he can't maintain this trump card for too long. If he can hold him back, call for reinforcements immediately. If this war of attrition starts, we'll win. Yu Mie and Eugene looked at each other. No words were needed. That's right, they didn't have to kill Lin Chen here. As long as they had a variety of methods to delay him, they definitely wouldn't lose to a saint in a battle of attrition. Moreover, calling for help was the right thing to do. The young man did not care about martial ethics, and was fishing and launching sneak attacks. Then they could call upon the forces of the various clans to rush over and suppress him with numbers. Boom! The divine nation trembled, and 4 pillars of divine light and a figure emerged from the south. "Which bastard dares to invade my Taichu divine kingdom?" The roar of a tiger and a dragon spread all around. Shangguan Yun exclaimed, "It's the 4 heavenly kings of the divine nation." Each of the 4 heavenly kings of the Taichu divine kingdom had the cultivation of the Taichu Grand Elder, and they were at the late stage of the 2nd tier of the divine realm. In the past, they were in seclusion and would not come out easily. Today, the divine nation was in trouble, and they came out forcefully. 4 true gods in purple gold robes stepped on the moonlight and came from the sky. There was also a person in front of the 4 heavenly kings. He was wearing a dragon robe and had a 5-colored dragon aura above his head. He took a step forward, and the great path followed him. He had the appearance of an emperor, and at a glance, he seemed to have seen through everything. The emperor of the Taichu divine nation. As the ruler of a country, he had the highest authority and was the strongest. He was the number 1 genius in the divine nation for thousands of years, and his cultivation was at the early stage of the 3rd tier of the divine realm. It was because of him that the Taichu divine nation could stand among the powerful countries. Whoosh! A divine light flashed past. It was the remaining primordial spirit of the Taichu Grand Elder, and it flew toward the Taichu Emperor. It turned out that the Taichu Grand Elder hadn't completely died at the critical moment just now. He had used the divine artifact to protect his primordial spirit. The Taichu Grand Elder's illusory primordial spirit floated in the void and pounced toward the Taichu Emperor as if he had grabbed a life-saving straw. Jin you must avenge the Taichu divine nation. This brat killed Wu destroyed the divine artifact of the divine kingdom of Taichu, and even destroyed my cultivation. If we don't take revenge for such a great humiliation, how can the divine kingdom of Taichu stand in the future? The Taichu Grand Elder screamed, his eyes filled with hatred and madness. Hey! Unexpectedly, Lin Chen's phantom avatar stopped the Taichu Emperor and laughed mockingly. You're the Emperor of the Taichu divine nation? You're indeed a talent. I can tell at first glance that you're a man with a story. You're definitely not an ordinary person. I, Lin Chen, have a treasure that's more suitable than the dragon crown on your head. After saying that, Lin Chen's avatar took out a glowing green hat and threw it over. Catch, Emperor of the Taichu divine nation. Cuckold. The faces of the 4 heavenly kings and the Emperor of the Taichu divine nation darkened. The Taichu Grand Elder's face instantly turned pale. The true gods of the Taichu divine nation had heard the words of the 5th prince before he died on the trip to Blood Fox Mountain, including the Emperor's trusted aide. Lin Chen's avatar cheered the Emperor on. Be strong, you must be strong. If you want to wear a hat, you must bear a cuckold. I can see that your divine nation's patriarch is still a treasure. In your harem, his might is still there. I, Lin Chen, am willing to call you the greenest. The Taichu Emperor's face was gloomy, and the clouds above his head suddenly changed, brewing other emotions. A crazy killing intent flashed across the eyes of the Taichu Grand Elder's primordial spirit, but he hurriedly turned around and explained to the Taichu Emperor, Jin this is a scheme by this brat to split our divine nation. You must endure and see the truth. I'll endure you, my foot. Boom. The Taichu Emperor slapped down and instantly crushed the last wisp of the Taichu Grand Elder's primordial spirit. Although the 4 heavenly kings didn't understand, they wouldn't question the Emperor's choice. They only locked onto the enemy's position. Lin Chen, right? I was busy sorting out state affairs the day before yesterday. Since you dare to barge into the Taichu divine nation, I will let you die very quickly. The Taichu Emperor's veins were exposed, and his well-defined handsome face was filled with madness. He shouted coldly, 4 heavenly kings, activate the Taichu Bright Moon formation and kill the enemy with me. Kill this brat. Boom. Boom. The 4 heavenly kings turned into 4 divine lights and separated. A brilliant bright moon formation immediately rose in the sky. It was like 1,000 bright moons overlapping, and the primordial ruins of the ancient civilization appeared one after another. Even the space and ground in the Divine Nation Palace became indestructible, turning into layers of barriers that blocked Lin Chen's path of retreat. The Taichu Divine Nation is going to fight this brat to the death. Just nice. Let's go with the Taichu Divine Nation. When our reinforcements arrive, the one who will die will be this brat. When the 6 old monsters and the Taichu Divine Nation stood together, Shangguan Yun stared at his back. The Taichu Divine Nation still had more than 10 true gods, and this nation-protecting formation was the foundation of the Divine Nation that had been accumulated for many years. It was enough to trap a mid-stage or even late-stage 3rd-level Divine Realm cultivator. In addition to these 6 ancient true gods at the 3rd level of the Divine Realm, how could he deal with the Taichu Divine Nation alone? Even an early-stage 4th-level Divine Realm cultivator couldn't do it. Chapter 1904. Everyone's here? He raised his eyebrows, and his eyes under the golden helmet surged with an eternal divine light. Lin Chen, who was wearing the golden battle god armor, took a step forward and jumped down. Lin Chen turned into a meteor and fell from the sky. The shining golden battle god landed on the ground. Boom! Boom! When Lin Chen landed, he suddenly stomped his foot. Bang! Boom! Chi! 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 The earth veins that had been reinforced by the nation-protecting array were instantly opened, and the wind howled. With Lin Chen as the center, the entire space exploded, and heaven and earth collapsed. The curved four-dimensional space kept trembling, and the ground instantly shattered like tofu. Bang! 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 A terrifying air wave soared into the sky like a mushroom cloud, spreading to the surroundings. The shock waves stirred up the fragments and sent them flying into the air. Dust and smoke billowed, and the great nation-protecting array in the sky was stirred up by the atmosphere. The terrifying power tore everything apart, and the thousands of moons sank one after another, shattering into fragments that filled the sky, leaving only a dazzling golden light in the world. Everyone was forced back thousands of feet by the aftermath of this power, and they were all shocked. The four heavenly kings of the divine kingdom of Taichu spat out blood and retreated. They were the ones maintaining the array, but Lin Chen instantly broke it, and they were caught off guard. Even the emperor of Taichu suffered from the backlash. He took a few steps back, and his pupils constricted as he muttered to himself, "There's such a thing?" When he looked again, the entire divine kingdom palace had turned into endless ruins. The divine dragon flew into the sky and protected Shangguan Yun, who was completely stunned. He shattered the divine kingdom of Taichu's nation-protecting array with one step. He was more than terrifying. He was simply the incarnation of Invincible, a battle god that could sweep through everything. Looking at the figure standing proudly in the center of the ruins, an unprecedented emotion rose in Shangguan Yun's heart. Admiration? Worship? It was far from that. It was more like an incomparably dazzling divine light shining on the path of pursuit. No matter how she moved forward, even looking up at his back had become an extravagant hope. "It doesn't matter how many gods come today," Lin Chen shouted coldly. Air currents swirled, and the gods were shocked. His aura rose steadily, and his words resounded in the hearts of all the deities. "I'm only here to destroy the Taichu divine kingdom. So what if there are a few more dead gods on the road to the underworld? Those who stand in my way will die." Boom! With a loud explosion, Lin Chen's golden battle armor exploded. The earth vein and space beneath his feet instantly exploded. His figure abruptly moved forward and collided directly. With a flash of golden light, Lin Chen actually smashed apart the two true divinity elders from Scandinavia. His divine body exploded, and the shattered divine light mixed with bloody mist scattered all over the sky. Attribute light balls filled the sky. Hiss! The deities' lips twitched, and they couldn't help but inhale sharply. A single charge had slain a god. There were no fancy techniques, only tyrannical strength. Time and space trembled and distorted. The distorted world was full of space cracks. Lin Jin shouted, "He's coming for us!" Boom! The divine might of the heavenly mandate god surged, and divine light surged in his palm. He pulled open a divine bow that was 100 feet long and shot it. The divine arrow burning with blazing divine might suddenly shot out, turning into a red aurora in the sky and falling toward the golden flash that was charging at him at lightning speed. A top-level orange-tier battle technique. This arrow was the ultimate technique of the heavenly mandate god, who was at the early stage of the third tier of the divine realm. He used his trump card to deal with Lin Chen. It was too sharp, and almost no one of the same level would take this arrow head-on. Just as everyone adjusted their attacks and prepared to aim at his retreat, unexpectedly, Lin Chen actually advanced instead of retreating. He rushed forward, and stretched out his hands to catch the arrow that was shot from the sky. Clang! The divine arrow was stopped in midair, and the heavenly mandate god's expression was as if he had seen a ghost. This was King Fake, right? Catching his top-level orange-tier battle technique, the heavenly mandate divine arrow, barehanded? Even a fourth-tier divine realm expert wouldn't dare to court death like this. In the next moment, Lin Chen pulled with both hands and tore the divine arrow apart. The arrow is powerless. Heavenly mandate god, is your strength insignificant? Lin Chen smiled evilly. He stepped forward and turned into a golden flash, closing in on the heavenly mandate god. He raised his hand and slammed it down. Kaboom! Bam! Lin Chen slammed out with his palm, shattering the heavenly mandate god's divine bow, and slamming it toward him with an unstoppable force. This palm was the most powerful one in the world. The golden light between his 5 fingers exploded with the power to suppress ghosts and gods. The heavenly mandate god sensed the smell of death and retreated in horror. He found that time and space were distorted, and he couldn't escape from the attack range of Lin Chen's palm. This guy's power has broken through the dimensions. Time and space are collapsing, and I can't escape. The heavenly mandate god's mouth trembled. Buzz, buzz. At this critical moment, 2 yin and yang acupoints, one black and one white, suddenly appeared in front of Lin Chen, blocking Lin Chen's palm. The palm shattered the yin and yang acupoints, and the afterimages of Yumia and Eugene appeared, pulling the heavenly mandate god away. Then, Fang Xie's figure stepped on the sword Qi and slashed with his sword. A flash of sword light with supreme sword will pulled open, and a horizontal slash bounced off Lin Chen's palm, stopping Lin Chen's figure in midair for the first time. Fang Xie's hand holding the sword was numb from the shock, and his pupils shrank. He crushed the yin and yang divine power of the 2 elders of the Yu family, and his palm still has such a powerful force. Almost at the same time, crescent moon-like blood-red blade light slashed from all directions, like a storm of blade light, surrounding Lin Chen. The blood-red blade light was very strange. Some absorbed the energy of heaven and earth, some pierced through divine power, some could swallow all qi and blood, and some could cut primordial spirits and even spirits. It was Lin Zhen, one of the 10 ultimate flying daggers. His flying daggers could destroy almost all energy in the same realm. Even qi, blood, and primordial spirits couldn't escape from his attacks. Using a flying dagger underhanded move? Golden body of the god of war. Lin Chen sneered, and his shoulders shook suddenly. Endless golden light of the god of war was released around him, turning into a vortex, spinning like a ring of stars. All the blade light fell into the golden light of the god of war, and a series of explosions burst out, and the speed of the blades became extremely slow. Lin Chen raised his palm and smashed all the 9th order flying daggers, and a bunch of elemental light balls burst out. Lin Zhen screamed, "No! My blade!" Boom! Lin Chen broke the starry sea heavenly god formation set up by the G Dragon Gate, and when he was near Lin Zhen, Lin Chen sneered and said, "Instead of worrying about your blade, why don't you worry about your penis?" At the same time, Lin Chen punched toward the sky. Boom! Bang! This punch went from bottom to top, and a large area of spatial ripples appeared in the curved 4-dimensional world. The divine punch, shining with golden light, penetrated Lin Zhen's divine body. This time, no one was able to provide any cover in time. Lin Zhen, an early-stage 3rd heaven divine realm true god, a supreme expert who had dominated the divine world's star province, was blasted into a mist of blood that scattered across the horizon. Even all the treasures in the Providence plant pouch were destroyed. Lin Chen's attacks were simply unstoppable, unstoppable. Wherever his attack went, it was invincible. The god of war was invincible. When Lin Zhen exploded into a bloody mist, everyone's pupils constricted. They finally knew how wrong it was to stall for time. What was there to stall for? Run. This kid was not at the level they could deal with at all. Lin Chen said, Don't worry, I'll kill you with one punch. Chapter 1905. Domineering, heaven-defying, invincible, sweeping away everything. Lin Chun had single-handedly beaten the Taichu Divine Kingdom and the true gods to the point that they couldn't fight back at all. It was as if he had entered an unstoppable realm. What kind of fortuitous encounter does a saint have to be so powerful? What kind of foundation does he have to withstand such heaven-defying power? It's too unreasonable, too king unfair. If he becomes a god, won't he ascend to the heavens? Momentum and battle intent were the most important factors in the battle. Once the battle intent collapsed, it would be useless. The true gods no longer cared if Lin Chen was bluffing or not. This guy clearly had the strength to crush all of them. Staying a moment longer would increase the risk of death. It's too late to escape now. Lin Chen opened his palm, and the pitch-black divine power condensed into a pure cube. Lin Chen suddenly slammed his palm into the void, and the pitch-black divine power formed a boundless barrier that enveloped the Taichu Divine Kingdom's palace. Host has activated the energy-type Divine Spark, Divine Guidance Fragment, consuming 1 million high-grade Divine Heavenly Path points and continuing to consume. Rumble. The boundless gravity turned into the power of the Divine Guidance Fragment that suppressed ghosts and gods, and it pressed down heavily. Bang, bang, bang. The few Taichu Divine Kingdom elders who were floating in the air fell one after another, their faces filled with shock. There was no mistake. This strange gravity was the supergravity used on Bloodfox Mountain back then, the divine power that crushed the severely injured second-level true gods alive. Lin Chun clenched his 5 fingers, and the divine guidance fragment collapsed further as if it was going to shrink this space and heaven and earth into one. Even my blood tiger Kasaya can't block it. This is King different from what the intel said. We can't escape. The remaining 5 old monsters and 8 true gods of the Taichu Divine Kingdom were suppressed especially badly. Those with powerful cultivation could still hold on for a while. However, the elders of the Taichu Divine Kingdom were only at the early stage of the second level of the true god realm, not to mention that they were injured before. Their divine bodies cracked. Divine blood glinted and divine light gushed out from their wounds. Their bones creaked under the pressure. Their divine power was drained to cover their divine bodies to resist the gravity. However, their situation was getting worse and worse. When Lin Chun was on Bloodfox Mountain, he could only trap about 8 second-tier Divine Realm experts when he used the Divine Spark Fragment. Now there were 5 third-tier Divine Realm experts present, and the Yu family's Black and White Elders were even at the late stage of the third-tier Divine Realm. Yet they were still firmly suppressed. It was clear that the power of a quintessence shard had increased exponentially. Lin Chen didn't even need to do anything for the injured elders of Divine Nation. The gravity of the gods' summoning enchantment crushed them into pieces, turning them into a bloody mist. These old monsters might still have some trump cards up their sleeve. Kill them quickly. Lin Chen stomped his foot and turned into a golden flash. He charged forward and slammed into the 4 heavenly kings of the Taichu Divine Kingdom. When the 4 heavenly kings of the Taichu Divine Kingdom saw Lin Chen attacking, they condensed their divine power into blades and raised their hands to counterattack. Lin Chen charged over with his shoulder like a falling meteor, shattering the divine body of an elder. Wearing the golden battle god set, Lin Chen raised his leg and swept it across. His whip leg whistled like a dragon, and his aura was majestic and domineering like the sun and moon in the sky. A whip leg pulled past like a guillotine. With a flash of divine light, it completely destroyed their divine power and divine bodies, blasting them into pieces. The 4 heavenly kings of the Divine Nation had fallen. When Eugene and Yumie of the Yu family saw this scene, a hint of fear appeared on their usually unfathomable faces. Once the Taichu Divine Kingdom was destroyed, it would be their turn next. Lin Chen. The Taichu Emperor shouted at the top of his lungs. He raised his hand in the air, and the sun, moon, and stars all gathered in his palm. His divine power erupted, and an illusory image of the Son of Heaven rose above his head. His divine body burned violently, and his dragon robe fluttered. Beams of divine light burned into brilliance, forming thousands of dragon-shaped fragments that interweaved into the supreme Son of Heaven statue. The Son of Heaven was wearing a dragon robe, and an azure dragon formed from fragments spun in his palm. He stepped on a storm vortex and looked down on all living beings. The Taichu Divine Kingdom's guardian technique, the myriad era divine scripture. The Taichu Emperor controlled the Son of Heaven statue and punched down. An azure dragon danced, and a calamity appeared. Storms turned into fist winds that crushed the surrounding seas and wastelands. The Taichu Emperor didn't hesitate to risk his life, burning his divine body and all his divine power to condense this strongest attack. Even a late-stage third-tier divine realm expert didn't dare to take this desperate attack head-on. Lin Chun stepped on the air with a majestic gait, like a river flowing on the ground. Every step he took stirred up a terrifying gust of wind. Facing the Taichu Emperor's desperate killing move, Lin Chen's shoulders shook. Divine light condensed, and he didn't retreat. He punched toward the sky face to face. How can a mere Son of Heaven defeat my undefeatable God of War? The power of this punch was like 1,000,000 divine dragons appearing. It was like a four-dimensional universe storm erupting, shaking the sun and moon, overturning heaven and earth, and collapsing the four-dimensional space-time. The two fists collided, and a cloud of dust instantly exploded in the center. Divine light bloomed, and the azure dragon shattered. Boom! Bang! 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 The Son of Heaven statue shattered, and the Taichu Emperor was annihilated. The golden fist wind penetrated the statue and shattered his body. Before he shattered, the Taichu Emperor still revealed an expression of disbelief. My divine kingdom was actually destroyed by a brat. The Taichu Emperor had completely disappeared. The punches of the two sides were on completely different levels. Even an early-stage third-tier true god's dying blow couldn't cause any damage to him. This scene made the 5 true gods who were desperately trying to exchange for a chance to escape feel as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. They were deeply suppressed by the god's enchantment, and it was difficult for them to escape even if they wanted to. This restriction was much stronger than Lin Chen's Divine Dragon Ultimate Prison Heavenly Prison. In a flash, Lin Chen turned into a golden flash. He rushed toward the North Region Song family's Heavenly Mandate deity. The Heavenly Mandate deity screamed in fear, "Don't come over!" Lin Chen approached, and the Heavenly Mandate deity wanted to fight back. Lin Chen suddenly increased the power of the god's enchantment, suppressing him until he couldn't move. The Heavenly Mandate deity's pupils shrank. He looked on helplessly as Lin Chen raised his palm into the air and chopped down like a knife. Whoosh! Rip! The top of the Heavenly Mandate deity's head was split open by Lin Chen's bare hands, and a large number of attribute light balls and red attribute treasure chests fell out. Another true god of eternity died just like that. Lin Chen's gaze turned. The remaining Feng Xie Ji Longmen and the Yu family's black and white elders were terrified. Whoosh! Rip! At this time, the Yu family's black and white elders used some strange technique to break through the supergravity binding of the god's enchantment. As expected, the old tortoise's life is really tough. Lin Chen's eyelids twitched. These two were indeed late-stage third-tier divine realm. They could actually break free from the power of the god's enchantment. Let's kill these two old things first. Stepping on the golden greaves, Lin Chen instantly rushed toward the black and white elders. When the two old monsters saw him suddenly attacking them aggressively and locking onto them, they were so scared that their old faces turned pale and ferocious. The two elders' expressions were saying, "Can't you let the old people live?" Chapter 1906. Eugene, Why did this brat target us first? Yumiya, damn it, this brat doesn't play by the rules. Ji Longmen, yes, hit them. Fang Xie, hit them, don't hit us. Just as the two people who were trapped in the God-binding barrier were frantically trying to break free, they suddenly seemed to have sensed something, and they were overjoyed. Chi! Rip! Several sharp sonic booms suddenly sounded from all directions at the same time, and the pitch-black God-binding barrier cracked with the sound. Spider-web-like cracks instantly spread all over the barrier, and then it burst open. Bang! 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 The God-binding barrier collapsed, and the pitch-black divine power turned into fragments that filled the sky. The power that broke the barrier came from the outside world. Almost at the same time, 4 of Lin Chen's doppelgangers guarding outside the God-binding barrier died instantly. That's right, they didn't encounter a battle, but were killed in an instant. One must know that Lin Chen's doppelgangers were comparable to most early-stage Stage 2 Divine Realm expert. Lin Chen's doppelgangers didn't even have time to react before they were killed instantly. It was clear that the strength of the person who came suppressed them in all aspects. The last 2 people who were trapped in the God-binding barrier were relieved of a heavy burden, and they revealed the ecstasy of surviving a disaster. Ji Longmen shouted, "Your Honor, you're finally here!" Shangguan Yun's expression changed slightly. This aura. No, there are several of them. More powerful experts have come? Lin Chen raised his eyebrows, but his momentum of chasing after the 2 elders didn't decrease. In fact, it even sped up a bit. Buzz. Sword intent roared, and heaven and earth turned upside down. A wisp of sword intent swept across heaven and earth, and like an evil dragon, it slashed toward Lin Chen's back. Lin Chen instantly took a step forward and turned around. With a backhand punch, he crushed the sword will. The owner of the sword intent let out a puzzled and surprised sound, as if he was surprised that Lin Chen could break his sword intent so easily. In the distant void, a pair of sharp eyes opened and looked at Lin Chen with interest. This power is even stronger than those 2 old things. Lin Chen sensed that the power of this sword surpassed late-stage 3rd-level divine realm. It was very likely that it was an even higher realm. There were also experts. After shattering the sword intent with a single punch, Lin Chen didn't hesitate at all. He took a step and spun around. His might was like a river flowing on the earth. His figure crushed straight towards the 2 black and white elders. Yu Fan and Yu Mia were forced to stop in midair. They used their yin-yang divine power to transform it into a pair of sharp scissors. Who would have thought that Lin Chen would smash the 2's attacks into smithereens, causing the expressions of the 2 youths who had been living in seclusion to change. Boom! All of a sudden, a gigantic palm that blotted out the sky tore through the clouds and pulled the black and white elders apart by several thousand feet. Lin Chen raised his eyebrows. You want to save someone? At the same time, in the curved sky, a vortex appeared where Ji Longmen and Fang Xie were and sucked them in. They were the forces behind the various true gods. The signal they had sent out for help had finally arrived. However, it seemed that due to some reason, they didn't come out to deal with Lin Chen personally. Instead, they chose to save the true gods of their sections. Fang Xie said from behind, "Your Holiness, you're finally here. Take this brat down. His secret isn't a small matter." A low and fierce voice came from the other side of the space vortex. "You're teaching me what to do?" Fang Xie panicked. "No, I don't dare to." That low and fierce voice carried rolling sword intent as it said slowly, "Fang Xie, be clear of your identity. Don't cross the line. If not for the fact that your sect is of the same origin as mine, I wouldn't be able to open up time and space to save you personally. I've already given you a lot of face by using my sword earlier. If you don't know what's good for you and don't know what's good for you, take note of your own official career." Fang Xie broke out in cold sweat. Yes, Fang Xie has crossed the line. Feng Xie and the others present were already the top true gods of the ancient sections. There was only one person who was stronger than them, ancient giants. These reinforcements were all supreme experts from the ancient giant sects. After that, Ji Longmen and Feng Xie were sent to the other side of the space vortex and were about to be taken away. Suddenly, a grand Tao sound that caused heaven and earth to rumble reverberated through heaven and earth. Young man, you're very arrogant. I've arrived, yet you still dare to touch the Yu family's people. A terrifying divine aura came from the direction of the two Yu family elders. The wind and clouds in the curved heaven and earth suddenly changed, and the entire sky suddenly darkened. Shangguan Yun's pretty face changed. Lin Chun, run. Be careful. The power behind the two Yu family elders was even more terrifying than Feng Xie and Ji Longmen. The owner of this voice was even more terrifying. Shangguan Yun could even feel the divine aura of the laws. A true god who controlled laws and a true god who didn't were on two completely different levels. Shangguan Yun still wanted Lin Chen to run, but with his bad temper, there was no way he would run. He would probably fight to the end. Young man, you've angered me. I originally didn't want to bother with a junior like you, but since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The grand Tao sound carried a fury that could burn heaven and earth. After the giant palm took Yu Fan and Yu Miao Wei, the sky above the Taichu divine kingdom cracked open. Bang! 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 Endless waves of fire exploded in the sky, and the monstrous waves of fire ignited the entire Taichu divine kingdom ruins. The high temperature drowned everything, burning the void until it distorted violently. This terrifying heat didn't just contain fire elemental divine power, but also the power of laws that could burn the world. It was the law of fire. Rumble! A Qilin pounced out of the monstrous waves of fire. It had a flaming head and body, and it swayed its tail as it charged toward Lin Chen. Wherever the fire Qilin passed, it crushed rivers and burned everything. The ruins of the divine kingdom turned into a sea of fire, and everything kept melting. This was a Qilin formed purely from the law of fire. Its power could destroy heaven and earth. From the other side of the space vortex came a cold shout of absolute judgment. Die. This move was several times stronger than the one that sneak attacked Lin Chen. Lin Chen stepped on the void. Divine radiance circulated and golden light was dazzling. His eyes reflected the golden divine light. So what if you're an ancient giant? Lin Chen raised his hand and golden light condensed in his palm. A divine radiance broke through heaven and earth and gathered in his palm, finally transforming into a golden battle spear. Host used the Golden Battle God set's supplementary equipment, Battle God Spear. Energy consumption has increased. Note: the host's energy is about to be exhausted. Wearing the Battle God armor, Lin Chen held a spear in his hand, and his domineering aura surged. The Battle God cloak fluttered in the wind, and the terrifying Law Qilin surged over, but it didn't shake him at all. The fighting spirit in his eyes soared. You want me to die? Who do you think you are? Holding the spear with both hands, Lin Chen swept toward the sky with pure strength. The tip of the spear erupted with divine light, and the divine spear broke through the heavenly river. Violent winds rose between heaven and earth, time and space were reversed, and the laws collapsed. The divine light at the tip of the spear collided with the Law Qilin. Rumble! Bam! The crescent-shaped golden divine radiance swept through the sky like a storm, destroying everything in its path. The might of the spear was unstoppable, and it directly crushed the Law Qilin, blasting it in half. What? An incredulous voice came from the other side of the spatial passageway. With a bang, the spatial passageway instantly exploded. The spear of the battle god had shattered the Law Qilin, and it had also blasted the other side of the spatial passageway apart. A tragic cry instantly reverberated between heaven and earth. An arm flew out from the other side of the spatial passageway, splattering blood everywhere. attribute light balls fell from the sky and floated in the air. Gasp! All of the powerful beings who witnessed this scene couldn't help but draw a sharp intake of breath. That supreme being from ancient times, a supreme being who controlled the laws of nature, even his arm had been broken by Lin Chen. At that moment, the scenery on the other side of the spatial passageway appeared. Lin Chen wore a suit of golden battle armor and held the battle god's spear in his hand. He stood proudly, as if nothing in the world could suppress his figure. Lin Chen watched as the spatial passageway split open. On the other side of the spatial passageway, a group of figures appeared on the other side of the spatial passageway. That group of figures just happened to be looking straight at the golden battle god holding the divine spear. Chapter 1907. There were countless geniuses in the heavenly realm's star continent. Geniuses were short-lived. Geniuses rose to power. Geniuses shocked the world. However, no matter how many geniuses were born in the star continent, if they didn't enter the heavenly tablet, they would only be a flash in the pan. The star continent recognized those who could be called geniuses. Only those who had achieved great feats. Great feats were feats that even the gods who controlled the laws were shocked by. Only those who had achieved great feats could be called first-rate geniuses in the heavenly realm. Otherwise, no matter how young a god was, how strong a saint's acupoint expansion and acupoint condensation was, how strong their mental cultivation technique was, or how lucky they were to become a god, they were just SOSO. Only those who had achieved great feats were true geniuses. Everything else was just mediocre. Geniuses who didn't even have great feats had no chance of reaching the peak. Star Continent, Supreme God Pavilion. In a guest room, the handsome cyan-robed young master frowned as he listened to the tall and cold woman beside him crying. The cold and elegant woman was none other than the battle maniac, Yu Tianwei. However, with Yu Tianwei's arrogant personality, at this moment, she was as obedient as a wronged kitten. In front of this cyan-clothed young master, her arrogance was not worth a mention. Her arrogance was worthless. Qianling, he destroyed the divine sword you gave me just like that. He even took my hand. Yu Tianwei sobbed. Yu Tianwei cried pitifully. Qianling, you have to avenge me. Don't you like it when I help you with my hands? Now, even my hands. Enough, the cyan-robed young master said. There's no need to say more. I'll remember this. The cyan-robed young master stood up. His eyes were filled with a destructive storm. The law of wind was like a hurricane brewing. He said coldly, when the Star Continent's Divine Sea expedition is over, I'll take care of him for you. Yu Tianwei was wild with joy, and his killing intent towards a certain person became even stronger, and his desire to kill became even more urgent. I'll go take care of the meeting first. Wait for me here. Yes, in the Extreme God Pavilion, many godly geniuses gathered to discuss the Star Continent Godly Assembly, which was less than a year away. The Gods' Assembly of the Star Continent was an expedition to the Nine-Realm Sea with the representatives of the Star Continent's geniuses who had achieved great feats. Only those who had the ability to reach the peak were qualified to participate in the expedition. Outside of the Supreme God Pavilion, a group of powerful cultivators stood guard. They came from different forces, and they were all super-strong cultivators from ancient times. At the very least, they were at the fourth level of the divine realm. Some of them even had nomological auras emanating from their bodies. Their rage caused the mountains and seas to freeze. Inside the Supreme God Pavilion, the godly talents were gathered. Dozens of handsome men and beautiful women were gathered together. Some of the seats in the hall were empty, some were occupied, and some had sent representatives. As for the 5 seats in the front row, they were made of purple gold and jade. They were especially eye-catching, as if they had been prepared for some extraordinary existence. Out of the 5 seats, 4 of them were present, but there was a special ball of divine soul light floating in the air. The divine soul burned with purple light, like a beautiful fairy dancing in the dark night, vivid and lifelike. 4 words were written on the seat: Peerless Demon Empress. At this time, one of the 4 people in the front row, the cyan-robed young master holding the white feather fan, was talking cheerfully and wittily. His brows were full of confidence, as if he could control the wind and clouds. His fingertips tapped on the table. The atmosphere was very quiet, but there was also a kind of tense atmosphere. The cyan-robed young master said slowly, "I think everyone knows what happened a few months ago. Among us, there were a few idiots who wanted to challenge the granddaughter of the martial god king, and they were beaten up. Now they are still lying on the bed, unconscious." When this matter was mentioned, the expressions of the godly talents were very interesting. The granddaughter of the martial god king. This woman's origin was very fierce. She was very fierce in all aspects. She was the granddaughter of the martial god king who was lost in the lower realm and was doted on by the martial god clan. Some time ago, the martial god king held a martial god assembly to discuss martial art. Many godly talents wanted to ask for guidance from the younger generation of the martial god clan, and they even picked the granddaughter of the martial god king to ask for guidance, hoping to gain her favor. In the end, the godly talent who asked for guidance was beaten up into a pig's head. His posturing failed and he was beaten up instead, causing this assembly to be held in advance. The cyan-robed young master put away the white feather fan and said indifferently, "Because of those idiots, the number of spots to enter the realm C has increased by quite a bit. Everyone should understand the importance of the divine sea of star state. After the allocation from above, we have unanimously decided to find a few geniuses who are close to godly talents as substitute." At this time, another young godly talent wearing a black robe and a cloak spoke, his voice hoarse. "This time, the people who will be selected from the various clans must be selected strictly. If you want to fish in troubled waters, I advise you to give up on this idea." A beautiful and charming goddess sneered, "There is no need for you to remind us. Take care of yourself, surnamed Yuan." The black-robed godly talent frowned, killing intent suddenly appearing. "Hm?" The beautiful and charming goddess stood up, glaring at him with her almond eyes. "Ah? You want to die? Tired of living?" Both sides were ready to fight, looking at each other like, "What are you looking at? What are you looking at?" It was like they were going to fight at the slightest disagreement. The godly talents who could sit here, which one of them wasn't a 1 in 10,000 monstrous existence from the ancient giant forces? They were arrogant and unyielding, not willing to submit to anyone. The cyan-robed young master lightly waved the white feather fan, and said indifferently, "If you want to fight so much, I'll be your referee?" As soon as he spoke, the atmosphere immediately eased a little. At this time, a beautiful figure in the corner spoke. "I have a candidate." That beautiful figure in a green dress was delicate like a green lotus, beautiful like a peach blossom. She seemed to be a young girl in her teens, and she smiled sweetly. Recently, a nameless saint appeared in the southern region. Can he kill a god? Since we've entered a dangerous place like the ninefold realm sea, why don't we try bringing this kind of unexpected trump card? After speaking, the girl in the green dress swept a glance at the cyan-robed young master in the 5 seat. The latter's brows twitched violently a few times, and his eyes narrowed. Then, the girl in the green dress flicked her finger, and a droplet of divine power shot into the hall. When it melted, it diffused into a series of divine talismans. "This is the information I've collected. Take a look." The green droplet melted into a series of information, attracting the gazes of dozens of godly talents. Unknown origin, suspected to be a 3-dimensional lower realm person? The first sentence attracted all the godly talents. When they looked down, the godly talents were bewildered. 3-dimensional human, Lin Chen? The moment this name was mentioned, the divine soul light of the peerless demon empress suddenly trembled, and light flickered. Under the cyan-robed young master's calm expression, there was a hint of murderous intent hidden. Shockingly, the information hanging in the air of the hall was information about Lin Chen. The information about the battle at Blood Fox Mountain was transmitted to the geniuses present at high speed. When the godly talents carefully read it, their expressions were especially interesting. Chapter 1908. Three-dimensional human, Lin Chen? He's at the peak of the 7th level of the Sage Realm, slaughtering gods, dominating Blood Fox Mountain, shattering divine swords, and having a divine dragon by his side? His essence soul is at the peak of the nascent soul realm? His body refinement strength is close to that of a true god? The geniuses in the 5 seats looked at each other. The girl in the green dress said with interest, "What do you think? Is he qualified?" Then, the 4 people in the 5 seats sneered at the same time. "What do you think? He's just a nobody. He's not worth mentioning. No matter how strong a mortal is, he's still a mortal. So what if he can shatter divine swords? The power of divine weapons depends on who's using them. He's just an extension of a mortal. No matter what, he can't reach our level. He's just a nouveau riche from the lower realm. He's just showing off his abilities. No matter how strong a sage is, he's still a sage. Before he can control the laws, he's just a drop in the ocean." Other than the peerless demon empress who wasn't present, the 4 geniuses in the 5 seats had the same opinion. The geniuses present were all supergiants who had achieved great feats. Their foundation, cultivation, and experience were all at the top of the star state. Even Yu Tianwei, who could be considered a top genius in an ancient sect, could only be a maid in front of them. The difference wasn't small. It was like the difference between heaven and earth. Any one of the geniuses among the ancient giants could suppress an ancient sect. Not to mention, the geniuses who had achieved great feats were 1 in a million monsters from ancient sects. They had seen far too many stunning geniuses. Similarly, the number of monstrous geniuses who had died in their hands was innumerable. No matter what kind of dark horse it wasn't worth mentioning when facing them. A sage killing a god? Some of them had even done it before. How many monstrous geniuses had been blocked in front of the great Tao laws after rising? There were 3,000 great Taos, but the laws were the strongest. How many amazing geniuses had been blocked in front of the door of controlling the laws? Even if they controlled the laws, they were still miles away from achieving great feats. But for the godly geniuses with divine arts, mastering the laws was just the starting line. The cyan-robed young master said indifferently, "This kind of trash is not worth considering." The girl in the green dress said regretfully, "Is that so? I think it's not bad." "What a pity," the cyan-robed young master sneered. "The star continent's geniuses are as numerous as carps crossing the river. It's not the turn of trash like him." Boom! Bang! Before he could finish speaking, he exploded. The air currents reversed and the earth trembled. It was as if a divine light had split open on the ground. Dazzling golden splendor illuminated the heavens. The golden divine light instantly rushed towards the Supreme God Pavilion, crashing into the ceiling from the bottom. The beams of the main hall collapsed, and a huge hole was blasted open from below. A figure came crashing in. The golden light shone at an angle, and the old man's figure was blasted to the ceiling of the Supreme God Pavilion. God's blood splattered everywhere, and he screamed in agony. Only then did the gods focus their gazes. The eyes of the green-robed young master, Qian Ling, flashed with divine light, revealing his killing intent. This true deity that was sent flying was actually a retainer of his Qian family. "Why, young master, I didn't mean to disturb your meeting." The old servant trembled as he held his broken arm. Beside him, the 2 elders of the Yu family had fainted. "I followed your orders to protect the Yu family, but the Yu family provoked a lunatic." Before the old servant could finish speaking, he fainted and collapsed. Qianling got up from his throne and suddenly turned around. Almost all the gods and geniuses who had achieved great feats looked in the direction of the golden light at the same time. At this moment, the gods and geniuses of the star continent had interesting expressions. A spatial rift that extended from afar was temporarily blasted open. At the end of the spatial tunnel, dazzling divine light danced like jade dragons, casting golden divine light that illuminated the heavens. Heaven and earth reversed. Reflected in everyone's eyes was the golden god of war, shining with golden light. He held the god of war spear in his hand and walked in the air. His divine aura covered the heavens and earth as he stood proudly at the other end of the spatial tunnel. His eyes were sharp and murderous as he looked directly at all the gods and geniuses of the star continent present. His battle-intent soared, and he was domineering. He didn't show any fear at all. There are thousands of gods in the divine world, but they all have to bow down to me. The heavenly steel Tao is filled with all the gods, and I, the god of war, am invincible. In the divine world, I am the best. The spatial tunnel was too far away. The spatial tunnel cracked open for a moment and then quickly closed. The gods and geniuses who had achieved great feats only caught a glimpse of the golden god of war. It was so stunning that their hearts trembled, and they felt an inexplicable throbbing in their hearts. The expressions of all the geniuses were especially interesting. Qianling muttered to himself seriously, "Who is this person? Too domineering." When I looked at his eyes, I felt goosebumps all over my body. I have not felt such a strong sense of danger for many years. That guy just now was filled with murderous intent. What did the elder of the Qian family do to provoke such a monster? The geniuses looked at each other. When did such an expert appear in the star continent? They had no idea. The pressure that the god of war gave them was at least a true disciple of an ancient powerhouse. No. Perhaps he was at the same level as them. Or even stronger. Ha 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 ha. At this moment, that ball of divine spirit light burst out with a melodious laughter. Finally, he is here to cause trouble again. How long has it been since I was happy? I am really looking forward to it, handsome Lin. That ball of divine spirit light couldn't wait to disappear and actually left the meeting. Everyone's pupils shrank. That guy was finally willing to speak? That ball of divine spirit light was the peerless demon empress who was absent today. She was also the existence that all the geniuses feared the most. From her tone just now, could it be that she knew that god of war? Qianling's face darkened. No matter what, as long as he dares to appear in front of us, he will either be a friend or an enemy. If he is a friend, we will welcome him. If he is an enemy, a sinister look flashed across his handsome face. If he is an enemy, we will eliminate him completely. In the absolute beginning divine kingdom, Lin Chen used his god of war spear to break a four-dimensional spatial tunnel and cripple the arm of a true god who controlled the laws. The moment the spatial tunnel was blasted open, Lin Chen saw a group of figures. Their cultivation auras were as deep as the sea, and all of them were extremely powerful and couldn't be underestimated. Those high and mighty fellows must be some of the geniuses of the star continent. Lin Chen put away his god of war spear and laughed. Although I want to rush over and beat them up, my body has reached its limit. Buzz. When the god of war set turned into a golden light and disappeared, Lin Chen removed the god of war set. Golden god of war set removed. Host's remaining charge, 0.2%. Not enough to activate the next time. After removing the god of war set, Lin Chen seemed to have collapsed, and his face was slightly pale. This time, he used the god of war set as the foundation and didn't have any talent to support it. The consumption of using the god of war set was huge. If his body wasn't strong enough, he would die first if he wore it. However, Lin Chen also verified a problem. From now on, he no longer needed to rely on the temporary cultivation brought by his talent to activate this trump card. as long as he had enough set essence. Let's clean up the battlefield first. Coincidentally, there is an alchemist guild near the Divine Kingdom. It's said that the Yi family is a family of alchemists. Perhaps if I become an alchemist of the Alchemist Guild, I will have the opportunity to come into contact with the Yi family. Chapter 1909. The Yi family was a great family of alchemists. In the Divine Realm, even Lin Chun couldn't find any information about it in the Shangguan residence. It wasn't that the Shangguan residence couldn't do it, but the Yi family's level was too high, and the Shangguan residence couldn't get in touch with them. If nothing unexpected happened, perhaps Lin Chen's biological mother was still in the Yi family at this time. Lin Chen collected his thoughts and looked around. No matter what, they were still at the third tier of the Divine Realm. It was still a little difficult to kill them completely. They were involved in a lot of things. Lin Chen could kill Lin Zhen, the heavenly mandate deity, and the entire Taichu Divine Kingdom today. It was a terrifying battle record. After all, defeating a true god and killing a true god were always two different concepts. Not to mention a group of old monsters at the third tier of the Divine Realm. His primordial spirit swept past like lightning. When he scanned the ruins of the Taichu Divine Kingdom, the other true gods had already retreated. The forces behind Ji Longmen and Feng Xie had left safely. Lin Chen was so tired that he collapsed and sat on the ground. Fairy Crimson left the Fate Plant pouch and supported him. The faint fragrance of peaches lingered at the tip of Lin Chen's nose. Fairy Crimson supported him and asked with concern, "Are you okay?" Lin Chen pretended to be in pain and said, "Oh my god, it hurts. I'm afraid I need to focus on treatment." Fairy Crimson said worriedly, "Where does it hurt? Come, let me take a look." "Of course it hurts down there. Come, I'll help you take it off." "Damn, you're serious. Could it be fake? Didn't you say you liked Diao Chan?" "My Diao Chan is on my waist." It seems to be true. While the two of them were playing, Shangguan Yun looked at the endless ruins and couldn't calm down for a long time. She had witnessed the destruction of a divine kingdom with her own eyes. To destroy a divine kingdom, one needed a strong foundation. Even a powerful fourth-tier Divine Realm cultivator would find it extremely difficult to do so. The price of overturning a divine kingdom was too great. However, in Lin Chen's eyes it was so casual. Even when there were many third-level Divine Realm experts here, he still destroyed the Taichu Divine Kingdom. Shangguan Yun smiled bitterly and rubbed her temples. What an amazing guy. If he continues to grow like this, he might be able to achieve the level of a divine skill. How could a three-dimensional human achieve such a feat? Perhaps he didn't even dare to think about it. How many monstrous geniuses who had walked out of the ancient giants were ultimately blocked in front of the door that led to the peak, unable to enter even after spending their entire lives. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The cloud shadow heavenly light danced wildly like a bloody light, and a large number of attribute light balls in the sky were taken away. Host has received 502 billion high-tier Saint Essence, 2 million high-tier Saint Rune Energy, 40 million mid-tier Set Essence, 1,500,000 high-tier Strengthening Points, 1,100,000 Saint Talent Points. Host has consumed 3 million high-grade Sage Heavenly Tao Points. The Immortal Godhead has healed all injuries. Lin Chen's injuries were healed. As long as he had the Immortal Godhead and Heavenly Tao Points, he would be as powerful as an immortal. While the Phantom Shadow Clone was collecting a large number of Attribute Light Balls, Lin Chen opened the Attribute Treasure Chests, dropped by the third-level True Gods. Opened the Divine Cultivation Technique Treasure Chest. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a top-tier Orange Cultivation Technique Fragment, 1/3. Opened the Divine Cultivation Technique Treasure Chest. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a top-tier Orange Cultivation Technique Fragment, 2/3. Opened the Divine Cultivation Technique Treasure Chest. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a top-tier orange cultivation technique fragment, 3/3. Fusion successful. Host can obtain a random top-tier orange cultivation technique, 10 ultimate skills chasing heaven. A top-tier orange cultivation technique. Lin Chen was moved. To be honest, he was still lacking in cultivation technique. As for the power of cultivation techniques, he relied on the support cultivation technique, Ambilight, and the system's enhancement to increase the power of the top-tier orange cultivation technique. The only top-tier orange cultivation technique he had was Annihilation, Star Explosion. Although its power was not bad, it consumed a lot of energy. Moreover, it was only used on the Phantom Shadow clone. If he used it on his main body, he would not use it easily unless it was a decisive moment. Moreover, both were top-tier orange cultivation techniques, but Lin Chen's Annihilation, Star Explosion could only be used once. It was really inferior. Compared to the cultivation techniques of the same level in the Divine World, the cultivation techniques of the Divine World were definitely superior. It was just that Lin Chen used the enhancement effect and talent effect to increase the power of the Annihilation, Star Explosion by a few levels. Heaven Chasing Spear, Extreme Single Target Offensive Technique. Using the absolute momentum to pierce through the enemy, the user can condense the Heaven Chasing Seal on the enemy. Against enemies marked by the Heaven Chasing Seal, the power of the Heaven Chasing 2 ultimate skills and Heaven Chasing triple ultimate skills will increase exponentially. This Heaven Chasing 10 ultimate skills is actually a spear technique, and each spear move is stronger than the previous one. Lin Chen gave it a rough look. The new top-tier orange spear technique could increase the power of each spear move by several folds when used on the same target. However, the prerequisite was that the first spear move had to hit the opponent. This was a type of stacking move, which was different from Lin Chen's other cultivation techniques. I'll find a quiet place to cultivate. For now, I'll retreat first. When Lin Chen put away the heaven-chasing 10 ultimate skills, there was only the last treasure chest in front of him. He couldn't help but hold his breath. This was the attribute treasure chest dropped by the true god who broke the arm of the Law Qilin. A level 4 true god was already considered a top-tier existence, and Lin Chen was sure that the true god who protected the Yu family was a level 4 true god who had mastered the law. Lin Chen was almost 7 levels above him. Since he broke an arm, it was either not dropped, or it was definitely not bad since it dropped. Lin Chen opened the strange yet familiar green treasure chest. Host has opened the set treasure chest. Congratulations on obtaining King of Speed, Extreme Wind God Set Part, Wind God Vambrace. Charge 0%. The green vambrace had the image of a divine phoenix circling around it. 2 light wings spread out from the elbows, making it look like a pair of elegant and light armor vambrace. Here it comes. Wind God Vambrace. Lin Chen smirked. In the past, I would use this trick whenever I couldn't solve a problem. If there's something that can't be solved with one punch, then I'll use another. Now that I can't solve it with one punch, then I'll use 10,000 punches. Lin Chen believed that wearing the vambrace of the King of Speed's vambrace would let him experience what it was like to have the fastest attack speed. The fastest punch. What would it be like to be the fastest and most durable man? Being invincible was really lonely. Whoosh. Bang. Then, Lin Chen's doppelgangers smashed all the divine artifacts left behind by everyone. He couldn't break down the divine artifacts that had recognized him as their master and had divinity. He could only forcefully destroy them and obtain the set's essence attributes. Lin Chen pointed at the young boy and girl transformed from the peerless spiritual plant of providence, the yin-yang divine tree, and smiled. "My 2 little friends, you're so cute." The 2 little fellows trembled and hugged each other. The girl in the snow-white dress mustered up her courage and said timidly, then, "Big brother, seeing that we're so cute, can you let us go?" Lin Chen smiled innocently. "No. You're so cute. You should be able to cry for a long time after a punch, right? The two of them trembled. Lin Chen was interested. Should I let you cry for 1,000 years or 10,000 years? 100,000 years. Lin Chen pointed at his group of doppelgangers. Do you see that? There are 6 more as fierce as me. He pretended to smirk and said, 1 punch per person until next year? 1 kick per person until the end of time? What? The 2 spiritual bodies transformed from spiritual plants of providence cried on the spot. Chapter 1910. Brothers and sisters. Fairy Scarlet came in front of the 2 spirit plants of providence, and smiled like a spring breeze. Seeing that she was also a spirit plant of providence, the 2 spirits let down their guard a little. She was as gentle as a big sister next door, and said softly, "If you follow him, he won't treat you badly. He won't let you overdraw your life to produce more resources than you should. He can let you grow in peace. Do you think I look like I'm overdrawing my life?" Fairy Scarlet circled around the 2 of them and deliberately showed that she didn't have any signs of being abused. In the divine realm, spirit plants of providence weren't treated as well as in the lower realm. Simply put, because the providence in the sacred boundary was sealed, the spirit plant seeds and resources produced were limited. The providence in the divine realm was strong, so the resources produced by spirit plants of providence were also very rich. But because of this, most of the spirit plants of providence in the divine realm were squeezed and forced to produce more resources or even abused, which affected their lifespan. As for karma, they just had to get used to it. Compared to Fairy Scarlet's situation, the 2 spirit plants of providence looked at each other and finally let down their guard. They dripped their blood on Lin Chen and recognized him as their master. Anyway, they would be abused if they stayed in the Yu family, so they might as well follow this new master who didn't seem so ridiculous. Lin Chen gave Fairy Crimson a big thumbs up when he saw how she had subdued it with just a few moves. Fortunately, she was the one who came up with the plan. She seemed to have seen that these 2 little guys had been abused before. After some coercion and bribery, the 2 of them submitted to Lin Chen. With 2 peerless spirit plants, Lin Chen's wealth would increase greatly. Of course, Lin Chen wasn't interested in squeezing them. As long as they lived a normal life, it was enough to make him rich. At the very least, he would be much richer than ordinary small sex. Lin Chen took back his peerless odd crystal and sighed. Taking out my own wealth as a greeting gift, it's really exciting. Peerless odd crystal and 10 substandard divine jade. This was Lin Chen's entire wealth. He was just bragging before. But now I've earned it all back. I'll earn from whoever has the money. The divine dragon flew into the sky with Lin Chen and Shangguan Yun, arriving at the last divine palace of the Taichu divine kingdom. There was a special enchantment around this temple. It barely managed to remain intact after the previous destructive storm, but the enchantment was on the verge of shattering. What was stored in the temple was the treasury of the Taichu divine kingdom. Bang! The divine dragon's claw came crashing down, tearing apart the barrier of the kingdom of God's treasury. When they entered, a dazzling array of treasures greeted their eyes. There were cultivation techniques, saint artifacts, rare ores, natural treasures, and everything else. However, the truly important treasures had already been taken away or destroyed by Lin Chen. The remaining treasures were not that precious. Lin Chen smiled and said, "Let's split the treasures here in half." Shangguan Yun asked in surprise, "Are you serious?" There were dozens of complete substandard divine jades in the kingdom of God's treasury, as well as many cultivation techniques and quasi-divine artifacts. There were also many sacred pills and miraculous medicines. Was this guy a good person? Lin Chen seemed to have seen through her. "Don't think too much, I'm not a good person. It's just that I, Lin Chen, will never let my friends suffer a loss. If you respect me, I'll respect you tenfold." he arrived at the Taichu Divine Kingdom in advance with the wind god wings. The reason why he was able to disguise himself as President Chen and find the treasure box that sealed the supreme-grade odd crystal was all because of Shangguan Yun. Otherwise, Lin Chen wouldn't have dared to take out the supreme-grade odd crystal from the system space. Wasn't that courting death? After dividing the treasury of the Taichu Divine Kingdom and stealing the Providence plant pouches of a few third-level true gods, Lin Chen's wealth exceeded 380 substandard divine jades. This wealth was already richer than many second-level divine realm experts. Divine jades were consumables after all, and no one would bring too many at once. Host consumed 1.4 billion intermediate set essence. Golden Battle God set charge, 4%. Ultimate set, Wind God Wings charge, 50%. Wind God Armor, 30%. The further one charged the equipment set, the more terrifying the equipment set essence would be. However, with a 4% charge, Lin Chen could still use the Golden Battle God set 2 more times. Even if he encountered a big shot who controlled laws, with the Golden Battle God set, Lin Chen's chances of winning would never be 0. The Divine Dragon has broken through to 29 Divine Dragon Veins. If I can break through to 30 Divine Dragon Veins, I'll be on par with a second-level mid-stage Divine Realm expert. My true combat strength might even be able to fight with a second-level late-stage Divine Realm expert. Although the vitality of a human true god was inferior to that of a divine beast, it was superior in quantity and cultivation. Killing a Taichu Divine Kingdom expert and 2 early-stage third-level Divine Realm experts had brought about a terrifying accumulation for Lin Chen, especially his sacred power essence. It had accumulated to a vigorous state that was enough to break through to the heaven realm. Let's leave first. The next step is to consider breaking through to the heaven opening realm and becoming a divine-level alchemist. The moment Lin Chen unfolded his wind god wings, Shangguan Yun's mouth twitched. This guy, such a powerful trump card, ordinary people would use it as a killing move, but he actually wanted to use it to rush? Lin Chen smiled and said, "Then, Miss Shangguan Yun, please lead the way. We'll go to the Alchemist Guild." Shangguan Yun frowned. "Why are you going to the Alchemist Guild? Do you know how to refine pills?" Lin Chen pointed to the sky. Shangguan Yun looked over, but there was nothing. She looked at him suspiciously. Lin Chen smiled and said, "As high as the sky is, I'm as flirtatious as it is. As long as I can show off, there's nothing I can't do." Shangguan Yun. Lin Chen grabbed Shangguan Yun's shoulder. Seeing him like this, Shangguan Yun broke out in cold sweat and quickly grabbed his arm. Was it going to happen again? That super-fast teleportation. Lin Chen unfolded his wind god wings, and a divine wind swept up the boundless sky. "Let's go. The dark horse will take the lead throughout the entire journey." Chi. The curved world tore open with a divine light, and the two disappeared in an instant. In the 5 continents of the divine realm, between the star states' western and northern regions, there was a neutral alchemist guild. On the top floor of the guild, a peerless beauty walked into the guild, stunning all the male alchemists in the guild. Even the female elder with rich experience was dumbfounded by what she saw. The beauty's cheeks were as beautiful as peach blossoms, and her beautiful eyes were like flowing waves. She looked around with a hint of bone-deep charm, and the curves of her upper body attracted countless people's attention. Her beautiful silk dress fluttered in the wind, and her palace dress was like jade embroidered with jade. Her snow-white collarbone fluttered with a strand of jade-colored hibiscus. Her light skirt was like a crimson cloud, elegant and charming. Her white wrist lightly brushed the neon jade belt, and layers of peach blossoms were like smoke wave. That soft and slender waist swayed gracefully, and the pink skirt fluttered like a crimson cloud, and peach blossoms bloomed one after another. The face of a young girl, the figure of a mature woman, and the temperament of a seductress. She was simply the reincarnation of a demon empress. Every smile and frown was breathtaking. When she arrived at the registration counter, she raised her white wrist and supported her cheek. She raised her eyebrows at the lady in charge of registration, and her smile was like a flower. "Hello, little sister. I'm here to register." The lady in palace dress with the cultivation of a quasi-god was stunned. When she came back to her senses, her cheeks were dyed red. This lord, please report your sect, region, and alchemist rank." "No, no, no," the beautiful seductress waved her hand, and her face was full of playfulness. "I'm here to register for someone else." Everyone was stunned. Register for someone else? There was such a thing? The lady in palace dress asked tentatively. "Then, you want to?" "Lin Chen, no sect. Affiliation to alchemy organization, none. Participating in the convention, identity." The beautiful seductress smiled charmingly. "Identity, the lover of the peerless demon empress." One day later, the Alchemy Guild was in a perilous situation. An unprecedented storm, centered around a certain name, completely alarmed countless divine alchemist geniuses in the Alchemy Guild. Chapter 1911. A day ago at the Alchemist Guild. The lady in palace attire said, "Miss, the Alchemist Guild doesn't have this person in the name you reported. How can you guarantee that he will come to participate in the selection?" The beautiful woman stretched her waist, her hot and seductive figure was incomparably eye-catching. She casually said, "It's okay, he will definitely come. Without him, the solar energy will collapse." The lady in palace attire was in a difficult position. But the guild doesn't have the rule of registering people, especially since the Alchemist Guild doesn't have this person. At this time, a cold and elegant woman's voice was heard. "Allow her to register on behalf of the guild. However, she still has to follow the rules. If the person who registered on behalf of the guild doesn't arrive on time or doesn't have the qualifications to participate in the selection, it will also be discarded." On the floor above, what entered everyone's eyes was a pair of tall and exquisite legs. The beauty slowly walked over. Her red lips were bright red, and her temperament was natural and unrestrained. Her face was cold and beautiful, and her green eyes were filled with spirituality and enchantment. Her green dress was pure like a snow lotus blooming on the horizon. Nothing more beautiful could be imagined. "It's Miss Qin, the youngest divine-level alchemist in the history of the Alchemist Guild." What a powerful divine soul pressure! Could it be that her realm has already reached the divine soul realm? While everyone was crying out in surprise, several handsome and refined heavens-chosen alchemists were gazing at Miss Qin with fanatical and admiring gazes. Outstanding men could attract countless females, and so could outstanding women. Whether it was appearance, temperament, status, or strength, Miss Qin was far superior to ordinary women. Powerful men took pride in conquering outstanding women. The higher one's position, the higher one's pursuit would be. Clearly, Miss Qin was this kind of cold and elegant goddess who was admired by everyone and made people want to conquer her. Hearing her words, the lady in palace attire respectfully said, "Yes, Elder Qin." Miss Qin's red lips lifted slightly, and she smiled for the first time as she looked at the beautiful woman. "It's rare to see you so energetic. Could it be that he really is your lover? According to my understanding of you, you shouldn't have liked any man, right?" She had never seen this alluring woman so lively and active. She was really curious, who was that man? The beautiful woman raised her eyebrows and chuckled. "So it's the Qin family's Miss Qin. Is it really okay to use your personal power?" Miss Qin said indifferently. "The Alchemist Guild has always only welcomed capable people. As long as you have enough strength, you can do whatever you want." "Really?" The beautiful seductress's lips curled into a teasing smile. "He was practically the same as a certain someone." The peerless beauty chuckled. "As long as I'm strong enough, I can even sleep with you? Everyone. Miss Chen's eyebrows twitched. This vixen was really, such hot and provocative words coming from the conversation between these two stunning beauties instantly made countless male pharmacists stand up straight. At this time, Miss Chen sent a secret message to Yi Qingwu. Yi Qingwu, aren't you afraid that you'll push this person into the heart of the struggle? It's not like you don't know what these people are capable of. Yi Qingwu smiled and replied, anyway, he will cause trouble wherever he goes. Why don't I add fuel to the fire for him? Miss Chen seemed to sense her mischievous interest and frowned. I think that's your enemy, right? Are you trying to kill me with a borrowed knife? With your reputation, maybe your pursuers will kill him. Yi Qingwu's beautiful eyes moved and she smiled sweetly. He won't be tripped by these crooked melons and cracked dates. Miss Chen was stunned. Crooked melons and cracked dates? Did she underestimate the appeal of the Alchemist Guild's god-level pharmacists? Moreover, Yi Qingwu changed the topic. When she turned around and left, she said casually, if something happens, there's still me. Since a long time ago, I've been protecting him. Whoever dares to harm his life, I'll exterminate their entire clan. When Yi Qingwu left, only a startled and suspicious Miss Chen was left. The one who caused trouble for him was you. The one who wanted to protect him was you? This woman, what did she want to do? Lin Chen, I'm really curious. What kind of divine being is he? Miss Chen's doubtful voice set off wave after wave of perilous waves. One day later, the Alchemist Guild was completely boiling. The peerless demon empress who came from one of the oldest alchemist families, the Yi clan, actually publicly announced that she was signing up for her sweetheart? This mysterious existence that even the peerless geniuses were afraid of, her sweetheart was actually participating in the selection? When this news came out, it attracted a large number of alchemist geniuses to come out. There were even many alchemist giants who personally came out. There were even some who were god-level alchemists, each more terrifying than the last. The next day, Ji Taizong's sedan chair appeared at the entrance of Dan City. A god-level alchemist, shocking everyone. In the afternoon, the disciple of the Alchemist Guild's elder, Xiao Ruoyu, flew into the sky and landed in Dan City. Late at night, a candle lit up the night sky. The alchemist giant who retired in the past, Old Man Tsonghua, appeared in a tavern. Many famous god-level alchemists came one after another. Some came to watch the selection, some came because of the Yi clan's appearance. The Yi clan originated from the divine domain outside the 5 continents. How terrifying was the alchemist family from the divine domain! Any random young talent that came out of the Yi clan was enough to suppress all existences, covering the sky with one hand and commanding the gods. Now that the most active and famous peerless demon empress of the Yi clan had appeared in the guild, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. Her every move would be watched. Almost all the giants and big shots were paying attention to the selection, waiting for the person who was chosen. What kind of person was he? Another 2 days later. A green light teleported through the void and landed outside of Dan City. It was Lin Chen and Shang Guanyun. Lin Chen frowned and said, "This damn place is quite far. I've finished all my food." No matter how strong Lin Chen was, he was still in the saint realm. He couldn't completely abstain from eating in the divine domain. Shang Guanyun suddenly said, "Is there something wrong with the Dan City now?" As a veteran who had explored the 9-realm sea, Shang Guanyun's senses were very sensitive. There were many people in Dan City who released their primordial spirit and even divine soul power to sense the various city gates. Lin Chen said jokingly, "It's normal that something is wrong. It seems that my name has spread here. They probably know that the most handsome man in the divine domain has arrived and are preparing to give me a surprise or something." Shang Guanyun ignored his words. After spending some time with Lin Chen, she was already somewhat used to his playful personality. Shang Guanyun said indifferently, "Be careful. It's better to be prepared." Lin Chen gave her a thumbs up. professional. Our leader always says that handsome people are easy to beat. Lacking in updates, it's easy to retract. Shangguan Yun said, and then? Lin Chen shrugged. And then he said he wants to be more handsome and needs more updates. Shangguan Yun shook her head. Tisk, arrogant. The two entered the city and strolled among the waning lights. Dan's city was vast, and people came from all directions. In the past, the preliminaries would also attract a large number of alchemists to participate. When Lin Chen and Shangguan Yun approached the Alchemist Guild, as expected, primordial spirit perception and divine soul power swept over like ripples, probing the two of them. Gasps of surprise could be heard everywhere in Dan City. First, it was because Lin Chen, a Saint Realm cultivator, could actually stand together with an outstanding and powerful true god like Shangguan Yun. Second, it was because they couldn't see through a Saint Brat. At this time, Lin Chen still didn't realize the seriousness of the problem. Chapter 1912. Inside the Alchemist Association. In a secret room, a few figures were talking in the dark. Create trouble and kill him. We must not let the Green God sect produce a god-level alchemist. It's best if we can find a legitimate reason to start a war. Yes, I understand. Also, within 3 days, I want all the information on that Lin Chen. How dare he have an affair with the woman I fancy? I'll destroy him. The owl-like laughter echoed in the void. A strange light appeared in the secret room of the association. Pill City, City Gate. Lin Chen and Shangguan Yun strolled on the street. Shangguan Yun frowned. The feeling of being watched wantonly made her uncomfortable. Good fellow, if not for my thick skin, they might have seen everything. Lin Chen clicked his tongue in wonder. Facing the many eyes that were sweeping over him, he was shocked. Boom! Lin Chen's Yuan spirit roared like a ferocious dragon and erupted from between his brows. Crack! 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 All the primordial spirit powers near Lin Chen were shattered. The primordial spirit senses that tried to probe him were turned into nothingness. The surrounding alchemists jumped in fright from this sudden burst of power, horrified to the extreme. They did not expect a sage to have such a powerful primordial spirit. To put it bluntly, Lin Chen's primordial spirit was already at the peak state, second only to the divine soul realm. Strange, this is too strange. His primordial spirit foundation can be so strong? With such a strong primordial spirit foundation, he probably already has the foundation to break through to the divine soul realm? Strange, why did he stop at the primordial spirit realm? Even most first-level and second-level true gods do not have such a strong primordial spirit. He doesn't have such a robust essence spirit foundation either. Something. A little sage can have such a strong primordial spirit? Could it be that he's full? When the group of old monsters in the VIP room of the Alchemist Association opened their eyes, they discussed animatedly. Suddenly, Lin Chen raised his head and looked in the direction of the Association Tower. Under the seemingly frivolous young face, that pair of calm and deep eyes stared at the Alchemist Guild's tall tower for 2 breaths before slowly moving his gaze away. How domineering! This kid even discovered our prying eyes. This little fellow has some foundation. This is the first time I've seen such a powerful primordial spirit. It's second only to our divine souls. Under the astonishment of the group of old monsters, they couldn't help but pay more attention to this miraculous saint realm. Lin Chen released his eyes and primordial spirit as a warning, which made the surrounding prying eyes retract. Things were different now. His primordial spirit realm had far surpassed his peers. Firstly, after destroying the Taichu Divine Kingdom, he had obtained a massive amount of spiritual energy, and his realm had soared to the perfected essence soul realm. The second was the Tai Fu Tian technique. The Tai Sky concealing technique was divided into 5 volumes. Lin Chen had cultivated the first 4 volumes. The effect of the mental cultivation technique was to cultivate the Tai Sky concealing technique, which would double the original cultivation of the host. This was the effect of the first 3 volumes. The effect of the 4th volume of the mental cultivation technique was primordial spirit unification. After cultivating the 4th volume of the Tai Fu Tian technique, the Tai Sky concealing technique would also strengthen the cultivator's primordial spirit. In other words, Lin Chen's Tai Sky concealing technique not only doubled the number of saint points, but it also doubled the number of primordial spirits. Coupled with the effect of the Supreme God possession, it was equivalent to Lin Chen's perfected essence soul realm foundation, which was 4 times stronger. At this level of essence soul realm, no perfected essence soul realm expert would be able to suppress Lin Chen. Even if it was an expert who had condensed a divine soul, it was impossible for them to suppress or pry into his secrets from afar. Shangguan Yun stared at Lin Chen as if she was looking at a monster. "You're a monster, right? When I first saw you, your essence soul realm was only at the late stage essence soul realm. How long has it been?" Lin Chen shrugged. "All right, I'll lay my cards on the table. I won't pretend anymore. I'm actually the #1 genius of the divine world." "Shangguan Yun, I said you were fat and you're panting?" Suddenly, a short elder appeared beside Lin Chen like a ghost and said, "Hey, this young master has a full forehead and a powerful essence soul. You're so young, and you have a goddess beside you. You're not simple, not simple." Lin Chen smiled mockingly. "You have good eyesight. May I ask who you are?" This short, gray-clothed old man looked ordinary and mediocre, but in reality, he actually had first-level true god cultivation. Pill City was really full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. True gods were everywhere. "Hey!" The gray-robed old man raised his eyebrows and showed the name list in his robe to Lin Chen. Then, he whispered to Lin Chen, "Little brother, you're here to participate in the preliminaries, right? To be honest, I'm the manager of the Heavenly Pill organization in the Star Continent. It's best if you have an organization to participate in the preliminaries. If you have an organization's representative, you'll be able to receive information about the preliminaries in advance." Lin Chen was enlightened. Joining an organization before participating in the preliminaries? Wasn't that the same as receiving information about the preliminaries before others? It didn't sound bad. Friend, don't be deceived by him. At this time, a handsome young master in white clothes stood between the two parties with a sword hanging from his waist. The person who came had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. He looked talented, and there was a sense of righteousness between his brows. He had also comprehended the profound sword intent realm. The handsome young master said to Lin Chen seriously, "Friend, this kind of middleman specializes in deceiving alchemists who don't belong to any organization. Once you join their organization, if you pass the preliminaries, all the rewards and benefits will be given to the alchemists' organization first. They're trying to gain something without risking anything. Don't believe them." When he said this, even Shangguan Yun was shocked. She spent most of her time in the Realm Sea, so she didn't know much about the Alchemist Association's rules. The gray-robed elder's face instantly darkened. Lin Chen raised his eyebrows. "Damn, there are so many tricks in the city." "Humph." The gray-robed elder who was exposed flicked his sleeves, not daring to do anything. Inside Pill City, private fights were forbidden. If anyone dared to hurt someone, they would be seen as challenging the Alchemist Association's authority. No matter how strong a sect was, something would happen. Not to mention ancient sects, even ancient giants would have to follow the rules. Before leaving, the gray-robed elder sneered. "Young man, you like to be a good person? In this world, good people often don't have good endings." The handsome young master said sternly, "Since I walk the path, I will bear the weight." The gray-robed elder sneered and left without saying anything. Lin Chen said, "Not bad. This young man is not bad." Shang Guanyun said, "He's older than you by at least 100 years, right?" The white-robed young master turned around and cupped his fist. "I still have matters to attend to, so I'll be leaving first. Please be careful, this Pill City's interests are complicated." After saying this, he quickly left like the wind. Lin Chun and Shang Guanyun didn't even have time to thank him. Lin Chun clicked his tongue in wonder. There are still many good people in this world. Next time, I'll be a good person too. Shang Guanyun said, "It's good enough that you can be a good person." Lin Chun, this woman's mouth was really good at talking. Lin Chun went straight to the tower in the center of Pill City and arrived at the registration area for the Alchemist Association's preliminaries. If he could pass the preliminaries, he would become a member of the Alchemist Association and would have the qualifications to participate in the main selection. If he passed the main selection, he would be a guest elder of the Alchemist Association and would have many identities and benefits. He would also enjoy the benefits of the Alchemist Association. For example, if a sect needed an alchemist or entrusted with an important task in alchemy, they would hand it over to the Alchemist Association. The Alchemist Association would then pass it on to the Alchemist Association of all levels. Furthermore, there were many top-notch alchemy handprints, alchemy resources, information on herbs, and some hidden secrets that only the guest elders of the Alchemist Association could come into contact with. This identity was something that countless alchemists dreamed of. At the lowest level of the tower, at the registration area, the receptionist at the registration area asked coldly, "Name, cultivation, gender, age, sect, alchemy rank, and whether you belong to any organization. Answer quickly." Lin Chun was dumbfounded. "Are you F***King checking my account? And you're asking my gender? I'm a man standing in front of you. Do you want me to take out my gun?" The receptionist slammed the table impatiently and stood up angrily. "Shoo shoo shoo, it's fine if you don't want to register. What kind of stinky fish and shrimp do you think you can pass the preliminaries?" Shang Guanyun frowned. Even she couldn't stand the arrogant attitude of the Alchemist Association's people. Just as Lin Chun was about to fight to the end, a crisp and sharp female voice turned into a scream, attracting everyone's attention. "Molestation! Someone is molesting me!" Everyone focused their eyes and saw that the person who screamed was a quasi-god female. Her appearance was elegant and beautiful. She wore a red dress, and her alluring curves were enough to bring calamity to a country. At this moment, she was covering her snow-white thighs under her dress. Her charming face was filled with anger, and her beautiful face was filled with anger. She pointed at a white-clothed figure. "This person molested me and touched my thigh when we were in the queue." The white-clothed man was stunned for a moment before saying coldly, "I didn't. He touched it. I saw it with my own eyes." A strong man in black armor squeezed out of the long, bustling line. He looked like a righteous man. The black-armored brawny man pointed at the white-clothed man. "Brother, are you using your true god cultivation to bully a weak woman? You dare to do it but don't dare to admit it?" Shang Guanyun transmitted her voice to Lin Chun. "It's the person who helped you before." Lin Chun nodded. "Seems like it. He's in trouble." The phantom clone in the Plant of Providence bag stopped cultivating. If there were any changes, Lin Chun was ready to take action at any time to repay this person. There were more and more onlookers, and the discussion gradually became ear-piercing. The white-clothed man said coldly, "1 is 1, 2 is 2. I've never been sneaky in my life. If I didn't touch it, I didn't touch it." The red-clothed woman accused, "You don't dare to admit that you touched it, right? I can't beat you up for tarnishing my woman's chastity, but I want everyone to know that you're a bully. You're not a good person." The white-clothed man was furious. Divine light shone, and he held a green jade token in his hand. He said coldly, "This is the true transmission token of the Green God sect. If I wanted to find outstanding women, there are many of them. Why would I molest you?" The black-armored brawny man immediately said, "You're so righteous. You're even using the sect behind you to threaten me? How many women has he molested? Why didn't you say so earlier? He wants fairness. Aren't you bullying an honest man?" The white-clothed man was so angry that he was trembling all over. He clenched his fists and questioned the woman, "Are you an honest man?" "Of course I am." Clang! The white-clothed man pulled out his sword in anger, and the red-clothed woman retreated in shock. He shouted angrily, "Then tell the truth. Did I touch it or not?" The black-armored brawny man stood between the two. "Using a sword to scare a poor woman? You have a sword, right?" "Who doesn't have a sword?" The black-armored brawny man pulled out the giant sword behind him and said indifferently, "Miss, you don't have to be afraid of this villain. Today, everyone in the guild will decide for you. Just tell the truth." The red-clothed woman gritted her teeth. "I did." As soon as she said that, everyone was in an uproar. "Hey, I didn't expect this person to be so pretentious. A true transmission disciple of the Green God sect molested a quasi-god woman. I'm afraid he can't stop himself. You even pulled out your sword to scare her. You're not a human." The white-clothed man was so angry that he was trembling all over. His face was pale and angry. At this moment, the hexagonal star flickered slightly, and Lin Chen took a step forward. Shangguan Yun was shocked. "Hey, you're not going to help him and then fight here, are you?" Pill City was the territory of the Alchemy Guild. If they attacked first, the consequences would be unimaginable. But Lin Chen, this lunatic, had no taboos. If they really fought, it would be completely different from the battle in the Taichu Divine Kingdom. Chapter 1913. Lin Chen turned around and said in all seriousness, "Look at me. I'm such a harmless and pure man. Do I look like someone who would beat someone up for no reason? Do I?" Shangguan Yun's lips twitched. "You don't just look like one. You are one." Lin Chen said with a smile, "If we can talk, we definitely won't fight." Shangguan Yun understood. Yep, he meant that they would fight if they couldn't talk. Was there a difference? Lin Chen slowly walked to the center of the crowd as he spoke in a loud voice. "Everyone, don't be in a hurry to get high." Everyone looked at Lin Chen. A trace of viciousness flashed through the black-armored burly man's eyes. The trap was about to succeed. Why did a sage appear midway? Lin Chen pointed at a petite figure dressed in green standing behind the white-robed man. The little girl was brimming with spiritual energy. Her pair of beautiful eyes were like jade as she timidly surveyed her surroundings. This little girl was behind the two of them and witnessed the entire process. She doesn't look like she knows them. Why don't we ask her to tell us what happened? Lin Chen smiled casually. Everyone's eyes focused on the little girl in green. She was a little nervous as she twisted her fingers together. The black-armored burly man looked at her with a murderous gaze as if he was warning her. The little girl in green shrank back. All of a sudden, Lin Chen stood in front of the brawny man in black armor. A golden light flashed in his eyes as the boundless pure energy that could suppress ghosts and deities condensed into a whirlpool. Through the Yuan Shen transmission method, it instantly pressed down towards the brawny man in black armor. "Kneel!" Lin Chen shouted. Bam! The black-armored burly man knelt on the ground uncontrollably. He broke out in a cold sweat and his face was filled with disbelief. It was as if there was an endless mountain pressing down on his head. Even raising his head was extremely difficult. The crowd was in an uproar. The woman in red took 2 steps back guiltily. Her face was pale. What was the background of this sage? He could make a true god kneel with a single sentence? He used the power of his essence spirit? No, it's pure strength. In an instant, this kid's pure strength increased by a few levels, and he suppressed this person with his primordial spirit. Interesting, a few old voices echoed in the crowd. Lin Chen suddenly turned around and smiled. "Little sister, there's no need to be afraid of threats. You can tell me everything. Everyone present, as well as the Alchemist Association, will uphold justice for the righteous path. The green-clothed girl timidly pointed at the white-clothed man. When I was queuing up, this big brother didn't take advantage of that big sister. It was this big sister who took the initiative to approach him. His words caused an uproar among the crowd. How is it a misunderstanding? This is too boring. I knew it. He's a young sword god. Why would he take advantage of a quasi-god's woman? That's not what you said just now. The young master in white was relieved and looked at Lin Chen with gratitude. I don't believe it. The black-armored brawny man stood up angrily, blue veins popping out of his forehead. His eyes widened in anger. What if you're in cahoots with each other? Oh! Lin Chen laughed mockingly. We're in cahoots with each other? That's too ridiculous. If it's true, what's the benefit of this young master in cahoots with so many people? Just for a touch? The red-clothed girl and the black-armored brawny man were at a loss for words. They really couldn't answer at that moment. Lin Chen's gaze was deep. He opened his mouth and said, "Good man, why are you in such a hurry? Aren't you seeing injustice on the road? Why are you in such a hurry to refute? Are you in cahoots with each other?" At this moment, Shangguan Yun seemed to have realized something. She walked over at the right time and said confidently, "If the two of you are in cahoots, then there's an explanation. Then this makes sense. First, you slander others, create an irreversible misunderstanding, and then find an opportunity to blackmail one party. No wonder you would choose this young and promising successor disciple of the Green Deity sect. So everything is within your calculations." Lin Chen looked at Shangguan Yun in surprise. Good Lord, this woman was following his rhythm of acting again. When the spectators heard Shangguan Yun's analysis, they all exclaimed in surprise. Lin Chen's group and the black-armored brawny man's group were in stark contrast. It was obvious who was in cahoots with each other. Their interests were more important and their motives were greater. The black-armored brawny man broke out in cold sweat. He really wasn't prepared to deal with this turn of events. The red-clothed girl suddenly said, "So it's a misunderstanding. Friend, let's apologize to each other." Lin Chen said in surprise, "Apologize to each other? Good Lord, this way of thinking. I've lost. I shouldn't have treated you as a human." The crowd lost their interest and dispersed. The two of them quickly disappeared into the crowd. Shangguan Yun said, "You're not going to make them pay? That's not like you." Lin Chen smiled. "There will be a time when they pay. Not only them, but also the people behind this." The white-clothed man cupped his hands and said, "Thank you for your help. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid I would have fallen into their trap. I'm Xue Jiaming of the Green God sect. I haven't met you yet." Shangguan Yun returned the greeting. "Shangguan residence, Shangguan Yun." The green-clothed girl said timidly, "Ji Lan." Xue Jiaming looked at Lin Chen solemnly. "Then this brother." He shrugged and spread his hands. "Me? I don't belong to any sect, and I'm handsome enough. Those in the underworld call me Ren Tai Shui. I'm the ace of the Black Horse organization. I'm an expert in acting cool and refining pills. I'm also a substitute player and a coquettish man. I'm a man who can play tricks with condoms. I'm the representative of handsome and coquettish. Chen. Buzz. Almost instantly, the moment Lin Chen reported his real name, Ji Lan and Xue Jiaming were first stunned. Then, the entire first floor of the Pill Pagoda went completely silent. Lin Chen's voice wasn't loud, but everyone on the first floor of the pagoda heard it clearly. Everyone present either had profound cultivation or powerful primordial spirit. It was easy for them to hear a brief introduction. Not to mention, this name had already become the focus of attention of the Union. What? Lin Chen? The peerless demon empress lover is him? Motherf***, what kind of joke is this? A Saint Realm cultivator can actually have a relationship with that lord? I can't accept this. I've been waiting for so many days, and I actually waited for a Saint Realm cultivator? This is too King humiliating. How can a Saint Realm cultivator be worthy of the Demon Empress? He's not even worthy of carrying her shoes. I think I've killed him. This is the Demon Empress lover? Other than being a little handsome, he's useless. On the first floor of the Pill Pagoda, everyone was in an uproar. Sharp and murderous gazes focused on Lin Chun, especially those in the upper levels of the Pill Pagoda. Some of the gazes that could pierce through a Saint Realm cultivator's soul were directed at Lin Chun. Lin Chun was dumbfounded. What's going on? I haven't done anything yet. Why did it explode? Shangguan Yun said in astonishment, they seem to be really waiting for you. Why is that? The Alchemist Guild was extremely large. Even if a divine kingdom was destroyed, the news wouldn't have spread so quickly. Moreover, for the big shots of the guild, a divine kingdom was neither too big nor too small for them to attract such intense attention. Could it be that Lin Chun was related to the Alchemist Guild? But that couldn't be right. If he was related, why did he participate in the preliminaries? This is bad. Lin Chen's expression was solemn. I think I've exposed my identity as the most handsome person in the divine realm. Who was it that dared to praise me behind my back and leak my information? Jilan. Shuejianming. Before Lin Chun could explain, the woman in palace robes who had received Lin Chun earlier ran over and said in shock, "You're Lin Chun?" Lin Chun instinctively said, "Who else could it be? Is there anyone more handsome than me here?" The woman in palace robes' cherry lips parted slightly. After sizing up Lin Chun seriously again, she said, "You're here to participate in the preliminaries, right?" The woman in palace robes pulled open a jade scroll. Lin Chen's name was written on it. "Prince Lin Chen, someone has already registered for you." Lin Chen. After a while, Lin Chun finally reacted. F***CK. Brother Chen, I've been arranged. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.